of it.
There we go.
I should just finish these, I guess.
You're fine, we'll get everything up and organized. Get
Good morning,
Paul
everybody.
on.
Hi, Paul.
Hello.
Paul?
You're missing our wonderful weather here.
Oh, man, it seems like it's been nice.
Alrighty. Where do you are, Mr. Merrick?
It just got a few more.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
think we're all at that tired. So how's the water level? How's the boating?
It's tight getting, like, they got two fairly big boats in there. And one of them apparently they got them in at Rochon and they struggled. They struggled for hours, getting over those sandbars and pushing.
There's some big honking boats. We had one that pulled in here and I'm like,
Oh, it's deep, all like a,
what was that? 5-foot hull, 6-foot hull?
yeah.
Oh, that-
deep.
Is that Dan
Dan
over?
East.
Yeah, I don't think he's at that boat has seen this lake.
I know, it's pulling it and it came and hit garbage and then left. It's like,
I just looked at the.
hopefully you're not
how
trying
does-
to put that
How
in.
does that go through here? Like, it's
I've
huge.
seen there's one over, was it Brazos or Pelican Point there that it almost looks like a yacht, a really small yacht, you can sleep in it. I've seen it
Yeah,
up there
that's been
before.
there for years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I believe there's some wonderful lakes that can handle that, but I not
Not
too
too many in Alberta, at least not in populated Alberta.
Up north.
Up north, for sure.
Yes.
You want something that big, but
No.
So is this going to be your last meeting as mayor, Lauren?
Last council meeting, period. I don't know. If I was mayor or council, I don't care.
Well,
You know.
that sure is amazing.
He's
We
gonna have the one official hat, president.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still got other things to do, but not village shit. Well, yes, I do have a few things that's ongoing, so I gotta ask you if it's okay.
Yeah, well, we'll talk.
Okay, so we'll call this the order
9:33.
9:33. And the agenda,
I'd like to add to the agenda, to discuss, and it is in Melissa's report, but to discuss the Hall Society asking the booking of the hall be passed over here.
right,
So I don't know if we need to add that to the agenda or we can discuss it there.
or we can,
I would add it as an agenda item.
Yes. Business?
New business maybe.
Yeah.
7.4, okay.
7.4, we should be Hall Society correspondence to take over hall rental.
Okay.
Does that sound about right?
Yep.
Okay. Because it was a correspondence sent to you guys.
Is this on here?
it's in the package.
In the package.
Yes, it is, but it's not on the agenda.
Not separate. It's the,
Where?
Oh, it is.
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
7.3.
yeah,
You're scaring me. I was
7.3. Yes, it is.
I was having a rough time with this, but you're scaring me.
Okay, so 7.4,
okay, so
that's it.
you're okay for the, adoption of the agenda.
Dan, did you
Yes.
get?
Sure.
All in agreement?
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, previous minutes, there was 2 meetings. And I think I'm like in 5.2. It may be prudent to add the word provincial government.
Okay.
I don't know if the provincial, and I'm sure the provincial must have told them where to put that in the village somehow. 'Cause
Provincial and federal.
Yeah, so it was nothing to do with council.
Okay.
Just for clarity.
Sure. Okay, so as amended?
Yeah.
That's 5.2. Who wants it adopted?
You got some more.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait. Okay,
So that fire commission letter information is on 7.3.
7.3, okay.
Yeah, I won't probably be around for that unless it's before the end of the month.
Sorry, the fire.
7.3.
Commission.
Yeah, we did send that letter up, that's all.
Okay.
Which is, that's in the edit. It's in the action.
Okay, so that's the first set.
No word changes though?
No, just in that.
Just a 5.2 at provincial federal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's an amendment.
Okay, so everybody in favor of that?
Yep.
Okay, so the next meeting was
26.
June 26th, yeah. And I just had a couple of things here. Is to make sure that and they understand both of 4 and 5 for the 2.1 when 2 properties got done.
Yeah, that'll all be in that.
Yeah, he
Letter.
talked to me on the street
Oh, okay.
and he's definitely aware of that, so that's good. So that's all I had.
So that one we did.
No changes.
No changes,
So
it was
just
just
adopt.
Yeah,
Yeah, put their name on that.
so we gotta do 2 motions?
Well, we did one motion already for the first meeting.
so we'll move to
And then the second meeting.
26th meeting.
Yeah, let's put their name on it.
I will.
Okay.
All in favor? Okay. So next we have no public hearing, no delegation, bylaws and policies. Nothing there, business. So can you take us through this, Melissa?
Yes. Okay, so this was a resolution that was made to do a fire smart debris collection and grant funding options review. Got the review in there, sorry. So I went through it, and so the summer village of White Sands, located on the southeastern shore of Buffalo Lake, is surrounded primarily by deciduous forest. I can't talk. So I just kind of pertain to what we actually have for the fuels that could start a fire. And then in discussions with Holly of Rocky View County, she provided valuable information. So what they do is they apply for the FRIA grant. And that they can get that because of Bragg Creek.
Because of its proximity to the mountains.
Yes.
Foothills.
Yes, and then the other advantage is because there are the other communities, so they can kind of pull into a bit more of their area with the FRIA grant, because they've got the FRIA grant, right? But a lot of it is for the Bragg Creek area. Okay. So it's the Fire Smart Resilience and Investment Grant that they work in Bragg Creek. and it's recognized as the Fire Smart High Risk Zone. So the application was developed by a professional consultant, which I was surprised because I'm thinking you got a lot more staff. No, they have a professional consultant and his fees are covered by the grant itself. So if they get the grant, those fees are covered. So the FRIA grant offers 2 intake opportunities per year, and looks like we're past that right now. I'll have to keep looking into it more. Applications must show clear risk reduction, mitigation benefit, and community value. So there is a resident level Fire Smart support, and municipalities cannot apply for individual home mitigation funding, but residents can apply for up to $500 per property through the Alberta Fire Smart program. I haven't got all the details further onto that because I was talking with the fire committee and he's aware, the gentleman that came in. And so we're trying to collaborate and make Community Fire Smart page. Create the links for that. Okay. So these funds can be used for vegetation removal, pruning or tree spacing, yard cleanup, or defensible space improvements. There is extensive public information available through Alberta Fire Smart and Fire Smart Canada, including homeowner checklists, landscaping guidelines, risk reduction tips, and we're going to try and incorporate that into that page to help people. A Community Fire Smart Committee contact is available to assist municipalities and residents with engagement tools, signage, and education resources. And that's where the Bragg Creek has a Fire Smart Committee that's residents have made that. That's where that comes in. Emergency notification, well, that wasn't as interesting. So, Buoyant Alert. Rocky View uses Buoyant Alert, a digital emergency notification system designed to notify residents of wildfire threats, evacuation alerts, road closures, etc. And at the time we were talking to her, that was when they were getting the heavy rainfall. They were sending out a notification on that, which we already had notifications through the weather information apps and all that stuff too. So it was just a double. So it's designed to notify residents of all those things. Currently, they have approximately 5,000 of the 16,000 targeted homes are subscribed. Estimated cost is $16,000 per year, plus staffing time to manage content, issue alerts. While not recommended at this stage due to cost, it may be revisited as part of a regional emergency plan. Because that's a huge cost.
Is it a phone alert system?
I think text, I think.
I think it's
But it goes to people's personal.
yes,
And people have to sign up.
they have
for
to
it.
sign up for it.
So they only.
And that's why they had targeted 16,000 because that's what they have for homes. But only 5,000 residents have.
But ours our cost would be proportional, no? Like it wouldn't
Possibly.
cost us 16 grand.
I would have to go farther into that. I just wanted to know what it's costing them.
Okay.
And then you have to add on the staffing time, manage content, issue alerts. So there's all these things. We'd have to have some guidelines. What are we doing?
Alberta alert system.
That also is a program by the provincial government that we
Right.
have access to that we could.
And then it would, so whoever signs up for the app, then if there's an emergency in White Sands, it'll go off of their phone. And that won't cost you anything.
Well, yeah, I have that on my phone. I have Fireban on my phone, so I get alerts on that. Like there are things that are not costly, but again,
Yeah, and you could, I know it was let go, but if you didn't do the practice every, I think 6 months or something, then you weren't able to call alerts, but I had the authority to call an alert for White Sands.
Yeah.
And then it would feed back to whoever had the deal. But if there was something else in the province, it would come back to. But there was a short, like half-day training session.
Yeah.
But you had to go into that program and practice.
Yes,
And then it
Yes.
would, if you could get the people in the village to sign up on that app, then it would, you wouldn't cost you a dime.
yeah. There's lots of things that are free out there. It's just isn't. There, like emergency alert is there. And now they even send them out even if you're not signed up.
Yeah.
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 I can.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that, it was very good information. We had a great discussion with her and it was very interesting because I was quite surprised that they actually just hire a consultant to do all this stuff.
Yeah, so if we were to look at something like this, we'd look at an alert system, and would we still look at a 1 day a year or 2 day a year collection event, or is that on this agenda as well?
Well, that is where I've investigated the FRIA grant. There's a high risk we could try. I need to know, and I think that's where I'm trying to get where, so the cost source and funding, so if applicable, consultant project delivery costs would be confirmed during the hiring and grant preparation process. If FRIA funding is secured, consultant and implementation costs may be fully or partially covered. That's where this FRIA grant could come in. Without the grant support, pursuing the program is not recommended due to budget constraints right now. Funding would have to come from municipal general reserve. Individual homeowner grants are separate and do not impact the municipal budget. So I'm kind of at a point of, what do you want me to go out for? Option one, proceed to issue a request for proposals. To obtain a consultant cost estimates for preparing a FRIA grant application for a 1 day spring or fall dead debris collection event in White Sands. 2, report that back to council with the consultant proposals and recommend authorization of reserve funding to proceed with the grant application submission. If the grant is successful, those costs would all be covered under that grant. Or refer findings and background information gathered from Rocky View to the White Sands Fire Smart Community Member Committee to support education and coordination. I'm not too sure where, I think
Well, I don't think we have a clear idea of what the cost would be.
that's right.
So, I mean, you might pay more to get a consultant involved and all of that when, I mean, if it's $500, why would you go through all that effort? And why wouldn't you just say, okay, we'll do it ourselves this year, next year, if there's availability, we'll do a little more research and we'll see how successful or unsuccessful it is.
My recommendation would be, if you want numbers, which I think numbers are what we need, is that if you did a resolution to direct me to find out what it would cost to get a chipper, what it would cost to get what is required to do something like that, the 1 day, and then you can decide on those costs and how and if you want to proceed and where the money's going to come from.
Do we have an idea of what Roshan's costs are for their little trailer?
No, I'd have to double check all that.
I don't necessarily think we need a year-round thing, but
How about the 1 day, because we're gonna have to go staffing costs, get a contractor, so that if we're gonna chip the wood, then we need to know where are we
or do we
hauling
just,
it out.
or do we haul it to the landfill, to their wood pile?
So I can do a cost estimate of what that would look like.
I think that would, how can you make a decision without having that?
I don't disagree with
And
you.
I just hate the idea of paying a consultant to write a proposal to the government
My,
when
con-
it could be filling out a form. I don't know.
my concern is I don't think we're in where the FRIA, that's the forestry protection area.
That's
And
a
that's-
big deal too,
Yeah.
because we don't live where there's forests of pine and spruce.
So I would be okay with a direction by council to investigate what would be the cost for us to do exactly what Rocky View has done. What would it look like in a cost setup to cover it?
Theirs is pretty extensive, but then they're in that area where it is.
They get a lot.
Yeah, but even if you could look into a price of a roll-off twice a year.
Yeah.
And
And I
have
think that
people
might be
just-
the.
That's what Bashaw does. But they have a permanent roll off year round or all summer, and people put it in there. But that to me is way overkill for us. And then people use it for just trimming their branches, and they use it for their gardening stuff almost. I think we need for dead wood. Here's the bin. It's a 30-yarder, so you can throw it in. It gets filled up. Once it's filled up, it's done. Here's the cost, and it shouldn't be more than $500.
Well, and
I just can't imagine.
I'm thinking that would be an easy thing to have the conversation with the regional ways to say, okay, if we wanted to do this, what would you charge us and the pickup? And if we only wanted it one day, can you pick it up that same day at a certain time so we don't end up with
Yeah.
other stuff in
Yeah,
it?
you want it bin dropped off morning, bin picked up.
And then the staffing, somebody to monitor it for that day.
Or even like a couple days. Or more, so people would have a chance.
Well, I
But
don't-
if it's
yeah,
on a weekend, you're gonna have a staffing thing, it would be costly, but.
Yeah.
Maybe some volunteer would take a shift or so and.
no, I'm thinking we have some summer students. We could offer them a 1-day weekend to monitor it. So I think there's opportunity here. Let's look at what the cost will be so that you guys can make a decision on, do we do it today?
Yeah,
Do we do it this year or do we apply this for next year?
I don't think it's that complicated. I think it's
So, Danny, do they make them big, big roll-offs?
Yeah.
So that they can take it and dump it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They all are. That's how they work.
yeah.
And the 40-yarders would be pretty tall, but a 30-yarder would work just fine. You could fill it up, open the back gate, fill it up, close it when it's 3/4 full, and then throw some stuff on top. Because people would be backing up their pickups to it and just throwing the dead wood into it.
I think in terms of the comments on timing, I think like the biggest benefit on this is education and awareness. And I think the best benefit of that is close to when the fire hazard time is. So maybe it's something we schedule for the next May long weekend. That's when there's lots of people out over that weekend. And you just schedule it on a day and that's probably just in advance of the poplar fluff time, which is probably our highest hazard part of the time, or if you got dry spring grasses and all that. And then it's just an opportunity to, bring awareness up to everybody, do some fire smart training, maybe on newsletters through April or something like that, get it fresh in people's minds, and then have that 1-day thing in the spring.
You don't think we probably don't need one for the fall then?
Well,
I think you're probably right. I know Rocky View does both, but that's just to keep the underbrush from kind of piling up.
yeah, and I mean, maybe in the fall, but I don't think I like the idea of just having it fresh in mind when the risk is highest, and that is I see the spring. Fall is when maybe there's a lot of cleanup to do. I don't know, maybe, but I lean towards the spring as being the real value time. And just back up a little bit for the alert systems and all that. I think we're kind of leaning away from it. I really don't see the value for that in us. In your place like Break Creek and there's a forest fire a few kilometers from town, and you're wanting to alert people to get out. In a case like this, something's going to be it's not going to be something that's coming from outside the village. It's going to be something that's sparked in the village and it's spreading quickly. And the alert system is more forewarning for evacuations. In our case, it would be, there's something going on right now, and even the time to get an alert out would probably be after, the response time has passed.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's not the sort of thing you can really set up alert systems for. It's just, shout at your neighbors, honk your horns, and everybody run out with their fire hoses or get out if the case may be.
Well, I think we can get the information then, and I don't disagree. Get the costing and then maybe make it for next year's budget. You know, as a trial in the spring. I don't disagree with that.
So
No,
if
that
you
sounds
guys did a resolution and I will get the costing and bring it, then you can, after you see the costing, refer it to the budget. How's that? So first you need a resolution, tell them, give me the direction.
Investigate, I'm guessing, the word.
I'll let somebody sum it up. Paul?
All right, resolution that council or that admin investigate and present costs for a 1 day bin cleaner or 1 day, 1 weekend, whatever, bin cleanup thing with bin rental, bin removal, and monitoring of it, and education campaign. Well, maybe that doesn't need to be a separate resolution if we're just looking at costs.
Yeah.
I probably didn't word that very well.
I think we're getting there.
I think hold on, I said, yeah. When do you want her to present?
Great.
Obviously, we not next month,
September.
No, next meeting,
September,
next council meeting.
our next council meeting after election.
Yes.
Next regular council meeting.
Yes.
Let's call it that. But yeah, I think
For
that works
cost
out
for
better.
1 day or 1 weekend.
Probably be able to, well, doesn't have to be in motion, but you might be able to just break it down 1 day, and then council want to extend it for 2 days or 3 days, you just.
Well, let's get the costing
Yeah.
so we
Yeah.
know.
And at that point, the only difference between 1 day and 2 is staffing, because the bin
Yes.
is there.
Yeah.
If you, whether you leave a bin 2 days or 1 day, something. It's the cost of
Yeah.
delivery and cost.
And I think it does need to be monitored because
Oh,
we
yeah.
are having issues.
Yeah, oh yeah, if you don't, it'll get full of crap.
We'll have the 2x4x4s and all that stuff, which isn't natural.
Okay, so I have to administration to investigate and present at the next regular council meeting after elections for cost of 1 day or 1 weekend bin rental for vegetation cleanup and monitoring for the event.
For a 1 day event.
Well, it's a 1 day
For the
or a
event,
weekend, or
Yeah.
Then you can look at both options.
for the above.
For a fire smart cleanup wood event. I think that's kind of what we're trying to say, right?
I'll say for the above. If the event
And
mentioned.
pull election out, you don't need it. Next regular council meeting. is fine.
Okay, great, okay, that's what I did.
Okay, all in favor?
Yep.
Okay, 7.2, investigation into office hour review.
Yeah, so there was a resolution made, and in response, administration has reviewed office hours from various summer villages, examined internal staffing and service trends, and considered technological tools that impact office accessibility and service delivery. Currently, the summer village of White Sands operates Monday to Thursday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. for drop-in service. After hours communication is routinely monitored and responded to by staff as needed at no additional cost to the municipality. Appointments outside office hours are scheduled when required to accommodate critical or convenience-based matters. This flexible approach supports effective service while balancing budget limitations, staff capacity, and seasonal demand. Key factors that influence decisions regarding office operations include budget constraints, extended hours, increased staffing and operational costs. Shared administrative models and hybrid schedules are often used in other municipalities to contain costs. Residents' expectations and accessibility. Residents increasingly prefer digital access, but some continue to value in-person contact. Drop-off pickup boxes are provided to support those who cannot visit during open hours. Technological advancements. White Sands has implemented online payment systems, digital service request tools, and virtual communications, which reduce reliance on in-person visits. Staffing and well-being. Expanded hours would create workload pressure and scheduling conflicts. Maintaining work-life balance is key to staff retention and productivity. Seasonality and community characteristics. Most residents arrive Friday evenings to enjoy weekends. Extended office hours earlier in the week is unlikely to meet that weekend-driven demand. Meanwhile, late permit or bylaw inquiries remain an issue regardless of hours. The municipality's ability to monitor and respond to urgent matters beyond regular hours and offer flexible appointments helps ensure residents' needs are met efficiently without incurring extra costs. Any adjustment to office hours must consider long-term sustainability and the goal of cost-effective municipal service delivery. Comparative analysis of office hours, I've provided you some models. Technology enhancement considerations. Summer Village of White Sands provides and promotes online property tax, permits, development, etc. payments, online submission of complaints and service requests, access to council materials and contact forms, scheduled appointments through email or phone, physical drop-off and pickup boxes. These digital services improve accessibility and reduce dependence on fixed office hours, helping to serve both permanent and seasonal residents efficiently. So, discussion options. Public expectations. Residents value responsiveness more than rigid open hours. Many already engaged digitally. Staffing impact. Extending to 5 full days adds costs and affects time available for project work or holidays. Demand versus timing. Friday access may not meet peak seasonal demand, typically starts Friday evening. Flexibility. Current system combined with tech tools and scheduled appointments offers responsive service without overextending limited resources. Sustainability. Preserving staff capacity, cost efficiency, and service quality remains a top priority. And I put some options for consideration. So you could maintain, you could do option 2 is the pilot 5-day, but it may not match actual usage. Hybrid and appointment model, which is the 3 to 4, which is what we do. And transition to a shared service model. Costs incurred would have to come out of reserves based on council decision for the 2025 operating budget. I recommend maintaining the current 4-day in-office schedule while continuing to support residents through flexible appointment-based service and expanded digital tools. This approach aligns with community patterns, cost control, and sustainable staff operations. It's up to you guys.
I still don't see, I wasn't suggesting any cost increase. I was simply suggesting the potential to have one of you work Monday, one of you work Friday, and the middle 3 days you work together. So it wouldn't really increase hours. It would just have a body in here that would be working alone. But that's more what I was suggesting, is to flex your time so that, you know, Melissa, you might come and your days might be Monday to Thursday, and Aaron's might be, you know, Tuesday to Friday. So there is no cost increase. It would be an adjustment of your work schedules possibly, but is that not a doable? I don't see that here. And that was kind of what I was
I'm
pushing.
looking at, because we were just trying to figure out holidays. Like, so Aaron's gonna take some holidays. I've been trying to figure out how do I balance some in. I finally, now that family is kind of getting in there, and I'm like, okay, well, I need next week. Aaron's going now for hers, and I still have 40 days holiday because I haven't taken any for the whole time. It's very hard as a CAO, is because there's always provincial and stuff that we're trying to manage and get done. So it's hard for CAOs to take a break, and then we're trying to balance. Okay, so now if Aaron's on holidays, or she's got family and work-life balance she needs to create. So now that means I'm going to pick up more, which means I'm not getting the same work-life balance either. Does that make any sense? We're trying to create where that's still that sustainability, but not and allowing us to be able to do our family commitments or our personal commitments, medical. Like I do a lot of my stuff on those,
Yeah.
that day.
But we're still not asking you to work 5 days. We're asking you to work 4 days, like you have been.
So if,
Just different 4 days.
so if someone's on holidays, then we just say we're closed this day and it's not consistent anymore, right?
And I don't know, I didn't want to address holidays in here, and we can.
Yeah,
But I was more looking at, is there a way of putting somebody in the office on Fridays?
I'm finding we're balancing really well now. I was wanting to maybe finish this year and see, because, but I don't know. It's your gut. If this is, yeah, it's for you.
What's the,
It is administrative, so I'm trying to do that
Yeah.
administrative balance.
there's a couple things, I guess, and is when they're both here, like it's a working system,
Oh, for sure.
and that's just the way it is. But my other question would be, how busy are you on Mondays compared to if you would be here Fridays?
Mondays, you'd be amazed what we're responding to on Mondays.
Because the weekend is.
Yes, and then Fridays, I'm observing stuff, and if something critical, that's when I'm dealing with it without having the office open. I deal with it because a lot of it's coming in through email, or if there's an emergency thing through the province, I can deal with it.
And their voicemails come through onto her email, so they're monitored still. So like Melissa, I know she's called people back on Fridays.
I've taken half my day on Fridays, sometimes just quickly responding to while I'm doing my own appointments. And dealing with,
And I respond to, like,
Yeah.
I've seen it, I've responded after hours,
so
even for you guys, so.
we're we're balancing, yes, UPS wages, but we're also trying to balance that wage component in the budget so that there's things that we do that we're not charging.
Yeah. Understand that, and
Yeah,
I don't see a budget or cost implication. But maybe I'm beating it. What do you think, Paul?
Well, um, I do see that there is a value in doing, one of you working Monday through to Thursday and the other one working Tuesday to Friday, so that there is a 5 day open office. That does lead to problems, and it's the sort of thing you get when you got small staff numbers like this. You're right, like you got vacation coverage. Does that mean there's a note up on the door, on the window saying, please note that the office will be closed on Friday, you know, August XX, and that may cause, some frustration or confusion down the road when people go to expect that it's open Monday through Friday. I sort of see both sides on that. Um, you know, the comment in there that, a lot of people arrive Friday evening anyways. And so is it really, the Monday through Friday, I think is the biggest benefit to people like me who are the non-seasonal residents. And, I still end up would be missing that most of the time in my case. Other people I know come up, I know our neighbors often come up the Thursday and they take 3 day weekends through the summer. So it goes both ways. I don't know. Maybe if if people aren't complaining about it, maybe we do just stay with the status quo and monitor it, sort of thing. But I don't know. Are you hearing people grumbling about it, Dan, or are you just seeing it as an opportunity to improve?
Yeah, a bit. I wouldn't even go grumbling, but I have heard the discussion. Why is it closed on Friday when most people are out on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as far as the seasonal. And as far as the permanent residents, yeah, most of them can access you at any time
Yeah.
because they're retired out here. But I do know a lot of people come out Thursday night or are here by noon on Friday or whatever.
It, yeah.
So I don't know.
I just like to point out, we do have a drop off and a drop off pickup box. So like, especially for golf cart permits, cause I know people come out we made the gray one down there, and we tell people, like, you can come in office, or you can pick it up at that box. And they let me know, and then I do whatever, and then we have the black one for like special payments now. Or whatnot, so like that's in place too, and like we have said, like, you could put, I say don't put cash in that black box, because if it can, someone can rip it off, but like a check's more secure in a sense. They can't just pull cash in, but like it's there.
And
as
then,
well.
and like I said, with all the technology now, and like people do call here and I take a look at the phone call and the message, I respond, and that's that flexibility that some are actually like Gull Lake and stuff. They're only in office so many
Yeah.
days and the rest they're doing remote. We're not going remote. We're trying to stay in
Yeah.
office as much as possible, but I am doing some remote that's people don't see.
And then as far as supervising maintenance staff and that on Fridays, you kind of set up a schedule and they just do it.
Yes, and then I'm also in conversation and he can call me anytime, or if I get a message, I call him and I say, can you investigate this?
I don't know, but I'm still don't think it's that complicated, but maybe I'm beating a dead horse here. I don't know.
Well, I gotta kind of keep my mouth out of it a bit.
You of anybody have seen it over the years, and I guess
Well-
having somebody over in Rochon is different, or in town.
We
But
never,
now,
we never had anybody.
You've never had the luxury of having somebody here.
Until it was built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even when it was at Ocean Sands, it wasn't that accessible sometimes.
Yeah.
Same in Stettler.
Oh,
Like
Stettler.
I'm dealing with more and responsive more
For
now
sure.
that I'm here.
And that's a
I
positive.
think I've had more complaints that we've moved a bazillion times in the last few years.
Well,
I
that's-
must, I had that, like, you were just here, I was like, I'm sorry, but we're here now, and we're not moving now.
This is
settled
permanent.
in.
Yeah.
Like, where are you located? Sometimes like, there's still, some people go to the town.
And I think there's that thing because there are still some that are they still go into Stettler. So we've tried to keep
Yeah.
pulling everything. So yeah, it still is a lot of work in progress, but I think we've established something. I kind of would like to continue this year and then review.
I don't know. Any final thoughts? Well, we can defer it to the new council or in the fall, or take a look at it. By then we'll have the summer. How do we track? Can we track Friday call-ins, or do you track that at all?
Yeah, I have everything. I guess what I'd like to, maybe we should do a survey out there.
I don't.
I think we could
Yeah.
conduct one if you guys wanted us to.
I think more importantly is just track your calls or track your
Okay.
interactions. Because it might not be a call, it might be
Yeah,
whatever.
Email,
It might be an email, but just track interactions on Fridays and see if we get zero, then I guess I'm completely wrong. I was more looking at people like you, Paul, is do you feel that you have access? Well, prior to your involvement here, did you feel that you had access when you needed it? Mind you, there was nothing here, I guess, prior to that.
Yeah.
Well,
So I don't know.
Well,
Maybe-
I'm part of the age where, I'm happy doing like email or phone call or stuff anyways, and the responsiveness has always been good that way. Admit it, I fully feel so. Um, it's nice to have that face to face and that opportunity. But in my case, it's more just I work around it. So, like I'm usually up on weekends, but there's sometimes that I'm up in the weekday, and I'll just make sure to plan to drop by on that and get the face to face when need be. And otherwise, we can do things via email and phone call and mail and stuff anyways. So you just kind of learn to adapt to it.
Well, maybe it's not a big deal then. I don't have a problem personally, but I'm trying to, determine.
Yeah, and that is the point with the cottage owners as opposed to the residents. So, like, if it's really busy on Monday, it could possibly just be really busy on Tuesday. I mean,
Cause you have, regardless, you'll have 2 or 2 days where there's like we still monitor our email. Do I respond to ones that are like, can wait till Monday? Yes, especially when like if I get on a Saturday or Sunday. But if something's a little bit more urgent and they email me, then I will do the process as either forward it to Melissa, which I did last Friday for a couple of them. I just got, cause a lot of people just will email me and not Melissa, and just forward it on, and like there's one about stuff on the beach, I forwarded to you and Alan from my email.
Yeah, and then I talked with Alan and I got it all cleaned up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
we do have a system when we're not here.
If it's working, I
Yeah.
guess, then it's not an issue. Okay, I'm okay with I guess we don't even need a decision, it's
We
just.
take it as
accept it
information.
as information.
Yeah, sure,
What is a Dan doing it?
sure.
Oh, I can't tell right now. They just blinked out.
We're having one of those, the heat's got to us for a while.
okay, so
So I guess just to close that off, do we want to make a resolution for Melissa to track her Friday usage and to bring it forward for discussion in a fall council meeting, or are we good like as it is?
yeah, I think so, but you'd have to be careful that it was because the system's already set up for maintenance. So that's not really a in-person visit or an office deal. So it would just be public concern or
So
whatever.
add that into the motion that was at this
I don't know. What do you think, Dan?
information and track.
Yeah, just track it, I think, at this
Take
point.
some of this information and track.
Track, Friday office requests.
Friday resident request, I don't know.
Interactions.
Friday.
Do a Friday tracking of interactions received by the municipal office on.
Yeah,
Thursday.
and my point, again, and I don't wanna belabor it, but the point was. We as a summer village swell in residents and people and activity levels on the weekends. When we're not here
Yes,
as a staff. That was my only,
Yeah.
You might have a couple hundred people during the week and you might have a couple thousand on the weekends. And but maybe there is no need for interaction other than, if the grass is cut and people aren't being, crazy.
for the work that we do, if it's for those other issues like the ATVs stunting around and
Yeah.
golf carts doing this and that is not for us to deal with.
That's-
That is call the RCMP. If there's damage being done to the beach, then file a complaint to us, but you could call Lance.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
do you want the tracking to come back? Like, do you wanna wait till like December, like for
Let's get
December
the summer,
meeting?
yeah.
Yeah,
So
How about bring it back for
Sure.
strategic planning discussions?
Sure.
That'd be better,
Yep.
because I think that's where we kind of need to have those discussions.
so I have, extensive information and Friday tracking interactions of office. I said interactions, right, sorry. Of office, then I put parentheses, emails, voicemails, appointments, etc. And bring tracking for strategic planning discussions.
All in favor?
Yeah.
There we go.
And at budget time, you could
Yeah.
always do a body in here on Monday or Fridays too.
Well, and that's where those will all come in, is where do we wanna go with this?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be one on YouTube either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just some person to be here for take information, and they'll soon learn what the questions are.
Oh, yeah,
There's a lot of smart people around that live in the village that review it, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay, can we do, is Brad gonna be on Zoom? Or is this
No, not
just?
No.
just, yeah.
Not yet.
Okay.
This is just, you
First
got
look at it.
the first look at it. Do you have any questions? We need those questions.
Okay,
And then I can have a discussion with him and then I'll schedule the next one to have them present. Cause
okay.
I think that you need time to absorb it too.
Yeah, and I guess I just had some question on the whole management plan. So is the public gonna review this as well?
Oh, there it
Is it
oh,
like a
yes.
public
Well,
hearing?
this right now is in your public agenda package that you guys, this is your first opportunity to see the plan.
It's in your RFD too, that Brad, like this is your guys', your feedback or changes that need to be made before it goes fully public, where they do public. I thought there's
Yes.
public hearings involved. That they said.
It's all in the schedule that they provided in there.
They do public hearings or we do public hearings?
Well, this is a council. It's up to you how you want to get this out and get more feedback. But right now, this is the draft, because it does lay out the guidelines for policies and stuff that council needs to be looking at.
So how, my main question, because I've seen this one,
Yeah,
but I haven't seen previous ones. Is this significantly different, or does this make significant changes to our code of practice, if you will, the way that we have been doing it? Is this saying, okay, we used to do it this way? Is this formalizing what we have done before? Or is this kind of saying, okay, here's the new rules, we're gonna have to change? Like, how much of it is that, is a duplication?
this
We
is
never
because
had one.
we didn't have
We didn't
one.
have.
We didn't
So
have
how
one.
did we,
We were guided by the lease.
so we had a lease that was,
With the government.
License
Yes.
of occupation, we have to follow the Public Lands Act, the environment.
yeah, and so we pulled information from all of those and put it in a formal way here.
And then took a look at our land use bylaws, took a look at what do we have in place for policies and bylaws?
Okay,
And
And,
this is the recommendation of telling you what's still your issues and what you haven't done.
the main thing that we had before, the lease was just on the right of way, not on, like it didn't involve our municipal property, it was just the right of way.
so this calls MR and everything.
Yeah, so
Yes.
then, but then the whole, both the right of way and the MR is guided by a bunch of different documents, and I guess the main one was the Buffalo Lake Integrated Shoreline Plan.
And that's also been looked at as part of this because there's a whole bunch of overarching documents that we haven't even considered or actually had a plan of how we've been working this. And are we pulling it together?
Page 41 starts with their policy recommendation.
Yes.
That's all.
And then.
And then
this-
you've got your,
Further to that, the Buffalo Lake Integrated Shoreline Plan, the Buffalo Lake IDP with the 5 municipalities was formed, and they took a lot of what's in that document out of the Buffalo Lake Integrated Shoreline Plan that was put together
Yes.
because of the stabilization.
and this is where the province with our license of occupation is saying they want more of a management plan. They want to know what we're doing. What are we asking for? What are we gonna do for maintenance? And we haven't had any of that, so we're trying to pull it.
We will need this to extend our lease? Or
Yes.
to
To
renew our
make
lease?
a new lease, because we haven't had one, it's been expired in 2021.
Well, we put in a renewal, they just haven't approved it because they want more.
So they wanna see more of this.
Yes.
Okay, so does anything in here, I don't see anything in here that is really like, oh my God, we can't do that anymore.
No, it's always been there.
Yeah, so these rules have been in place,
Yes.
Official on
for
paper.
the most part.
It would be official and on paper, yeah.
Yes,
I guess that's what that's why I asked initially, is this summarizing existing practices?
well, what's the
Uh,
existing practices? It
that's-
doesn't mean.
I
what
got
we've
some
done.
items here.
Okay, so you're, because, and that's kind of where, and there was a typo, there was Silver Sands in here. Summer Village of Silver Sands, I can't find it now.
Yeah, I know. I saw that too. I have it noted. It's on
I couldn't
page
find it.
13, the very bottom of
Page
page
13.
13.9 under docking and mooring.
Number 9, yeah, number 9, each property within the summer village is Silver Sand.
And I thought, oh, okay,
Oh,
I got a
okay.
name change.
Cut and pasted.
Page 13, error.
Yeah.
I've got a number of minor points and questions throughout it too that I can go through when the time is right.
Which is now, I think.
Yes.
All right.
that's what I'm looking
Uh,
for you guys to get
If we
rolled.
if we back up to page 9, section 4.5, it says the first paragraph there, the wetland area found near beach access also hosts a diverse population. So pointing out a particular wetland area, but it doesn't say which beach access that is.
Paul,
Yeah.
I marked up the stuff in the agenda instead of the printout.
So the page.
So I don't have,
Oh, yeah,
so what number?
Okay, hang on, 4.
I'm working off the printout.
Okay.
Okay, so
9.
just what item number?
It's item number 4.5, wildlife.
okay.
Yep, got it.
Yeah.
Got it, I'm almost there.
First paragraph needs to,
On the agenda is 37.
Okay,
and just needs to identify which beach access this wetland, this important wetland area is by.
Right, found near beach access, but you didn't say which one.
Yeah.
I would think that would be based on mapping, 8.
Okay. Well, maybe if we could just have that clear in there so we know, because I mean, the main thing, I mean, this is what we're committing to, and so we want to use this as a blueprint when we're setting up our no mow zones or whatever we're doing, or we're marking,
Yes.
putting signs up saying critical habitat, please do not disturb, or whatever our actions might be, will be based on this document. So.
Okay,
Which is really good because,
Sorry.
yeah,
mark it on here, Danny.
and I agree with you, Paul, and I think the reason they're talking that is
Beach
because if you
access,
looked at where beach access 8, that's all actually water management right away down there.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. Oh, sorry, that's just, he's
Oh,
there.
so they're talking about Big Slough there and the stuff.
That's kind of between 7 and 8.
Yeah. okay.
Yeah, that's all water management right away and ER. Environmental reserve, and those regulations are a lot tighter than MR.
Yeah, that's a whole different ballgame. Actually, when that subdivision was done, that whole slough that's there.
Yeah.
They had a scraper in there and it was all sand,
Oh,
all the way to the hill, the whole thing.
oh, it wasn't lowland.
Well, it became lowland when the lake came up.
Yeah.
Flooded it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay,
that's good, got that marked.
Yeah. In section 5.6, recreational activities,
5.6.
the last sentence of the first paragraph there, controlling access points to the beach enables Summer Village to limit impacts of foot traffic. I think he should be saying limit impacts to foot traffic on the beach on important natural areas, and it's got a, whether that word is of or to, I think carries a lot of implication. Like, you know, I'm hoping that we're not concerned about foot traffic anywhere down there. It's more, we want to keep it not more than foot traffic. So
why are you saying that it's foot traffic impacts?
controlling access points to the beach. Well, okay, I'm interpreting that, and I'm hoping that we can interpret it that way, that when we're talking about controlling access points, we're talking about keeping the vehicles off the beach.
Correct.
Yeah, not foot traffic.
Yeah, and so
be
when they
fair.
say that limiting the impacts of
Yeah.
foot traffic, you know, I don't want to get into a point where we're saying people can't walk
walk.
down there.
Okay,
So I think we want
just
to
got
limit.
rid of traffic on the beach?
Well, I think we need to get the clarity of what do you mean, like the access points I understand. So we're, instead of everybody coming everywhere down onto the beach from all different areas, we created beach
Well,
access points.
I mean, like
That's-
all the lakefront and semi-lakefront owners, however they're classified, they just go straight down. You know,
Oh,
we're
you-
not trying, we're not going to tell anybody that you can't go down from your yard to the beach. You have to go over to an access point. I really think, you know, the access point control is really around keeping the vehicles off the beach. And
Okay.
foot traffic, whether it comes through the beach accesses or whether it comes through people's private property, um, you know, if we have to get if we're talking about getting into controlling that, that's a whole different kettle of fish,
Yeah.
and there'll be a lot of pushback on that. But if we're just
Yeah.
talking about, you know, the access points are controlled so that people don't drive their quads down, okay, you know, so that's just where I said
Yeah.
when it says limit the impacts of foot traffic, I've got radars going up, and I don't want to be getting into arguments of you know whether or not we're you know fencing off areas and saying you know do not
Yeah.
do
You
not
can't use
cross
that
this.
path.
That's totally different thing.
Okay,
So that sentence would have to come out.
No, no,
Or
just change
change it to traffic.
change of to two. Limit impacts to foot traffic to the beach on important natural areas.
Wherever it is. It's 5.6, you said, right?
And maybe if
Last
CPP
sentence.
and maybe if CPP has something different in mind, then we need to talk about that.
and that's what I think I need to get clarity on. So I will take that, I've marked it. We
Yeah.
need way better clarity because we can't stop lakefront owners from having access.
To the beach.
Well, we don't,
Short of
yeah.
access to the
Do
beach.
we need
It might be
like
better to tablet too.
is that a concern, I guess, is something to ask them. Like, you know, I think we're going on the assumption that any foot traffic anywhere on the MR or ER is okay.
It's
Now,
acceptable.
if it's
Yeah.
not, then we need to have that discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and that would
Got
also
it.
fit in, and that would also fit into the mowing, like, you know, if you can't walk, they're not going to want it mowed either. But I don't sense that that's been identified as a key concern. One thing that I see that is not mentioned anywhere on here, maybe as a question for CPP, is does invasive species, both plants and fish and anything else, need to be part of our management plan?
I think it
Yeah,
does.
absolutely, Paul, and that is a big deal. I've got that marked down too.
Is that in
Okay.
a specific section? Sorry, I missed it.
It's-
No,
it's-
just add it.
Just invasive species.
Yeah, it's not addressed anywhere here that I can see, and I'm just wondering if it
Yeah.
should.
And ask them the question about addressing a section for invasive species,
Aquatic and
aquatic and
plant.
vegetation.
for vegetation.
Yeah,
And there's one out there that just on the subject. Well, thistle isn't invasive, but it's a pain in the butt on the beach.
Yeah, it's
for
just a
sure.
pain in the butt.
But we have water hemlock,
That's supposed to be pulled.
But
But
we don't
it
have,
ha- it hasn't been done. The county used to do it for us.
Unfortunately, they don't
I
have
think-
to,
I
it's
think
up
Roche-
on us,
I
so
think
we have to.
Roche just owns it.
It is,
Bad.
it's getting bad again. And it's the most poisonous plant in North
Is
America,
that the one that has the solar,
but it's not,
the sap, the solar,
it's,
that didn't burn yet?
no,
Not that
that's,
one?
that's cow farce now.
Oh, okay.
But this water hemlock is honestly, it'll kill you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
So that's another thing is we need to address that is, that's what should be in this is how are we going to address this?
well, you know what? They came suited up hazmat
really,
with garbage bags. And
Yes.
pulled it.
And that's why I think if we get all this stuff, to me, this is why we're doing this, is so we can get a plan. Cause it has cost implications if we have to hire somebody to come out and walk 4 kilometers of that and clean it up.
It's only in
It's
certain
gonna-
areas, but you can see it this time of year because it's
Yeah.
starting to bloom.
It says, under 7.5, item number 22. Weed control on the right of way will be carried out in accordance with the Weed Control Act and applicable bylaws. So
It's pretty vague.
it's
We need-
very vague. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we need a separate section, because that's under storage of recreation equipment.
And it should include DNR too. like
Yeah.
if
Yes,
So a
No.
separate section for just weed control for invasive species.
I think just invasive species,
Yeah,
and, we need to have,
and then how it incorporates under 7.2, because I think they should be referencing each other. Okay, do you agree, Paul?
I guess it would be like in section 7.5 where we'd be talking about in invasive species, but yeah, I think it should be specifically mentioned, what we do and don't have to do so we can understand it.
right,
Yeah,
And whether it is like doing a annual survey of just looking for these things and then a plan to remove them, or whether I have no idea what it is, but I think it would have to be in coordination with the whole lake. I mean, if we're doing our 4 kilometers and Stettler County isn't doing the adjacent stuff, then it's not really accomplishing anything anyway. So it needs to be a coordinated effort to be of any use, really, in my mind.
very true. And I think it also needs to be coordinated through a policy with a budget so that you guys it's clearly laid out. There's an understanding of what you're doing. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it is an ongoing every year thing, but it has been done for probably 10 years.
Yes,
And
but again, that's human resources, that's the resources that we need to be able to accomplish, but if we don't have, right now, don't have anything,
Yeah.
policies or proper guidelines. And this
But
is why-
but that's something that we might need to look to Alberta Environment for guidance on what we should be doing as well. Like, I mean, I don't think we need to be inventing the wheel here, but we need to turn to the experts and say, what should we and everybody else, along the lake be doing here to, because we all want to prevent invasive species and, both aquatic and vegetation. I don't think anybody's going to argue that, but it's not something that I think we develop ourselves. We just ask the experts or CPP to advise on what is reasonable due diligence on managing this.
And I think one of the problems is with that water hemlock, it's not designated invasive.
oh,
And
Oh,
it's not, when I contacted the government more than once on it, and environment, it's not restricted, it's just an extremely poisonous plant.
Hmm.
So if a kid was playing around with it and broke it off and happened to suck on it or something, which it hasn't happened, but it could possibly easily kill them.
Wow.
so again, now I'm hearing, so we gotta get that balance right, because then is there an education component, which is what they're kind of throwing into this report is some is administration, some is education. If they're saying invasive, but you're saying that under the act, hemlock is not considered invasive, then should we be doing educational material through administration to educate people on certain things along the beach so that they're well aware with their kids? We can't do everything, but we can educate.
Yeah, it's really a hard call, and it's the same as with that cow parsnip.
Yeah.
And there's only really 1 or 2 areas that it grows, and the main area is across from us in that fire road.
Yeah.
That shit that gets mowed down all the time. If you get that sap on your arm, and the kids didn't notice it, then when they go into the sun, it just goes huge blisters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
There was, when we took that 2 day training thing, there was a session on invasive.
Yeah.
And they did talk about invasive and nuisance as well.
Okay,
So there, it's kind of, and they talked about both the aquatic life, like
Yeah.
the carp and that, and others. And then the lady literally said, this lake has it, this doesn't, this lake has it. And they had programs, provincial programs to clean it up.
Yeah,
and maybe that's
So
what
that,
we need.
we need to get the information in, and then put it in something like the shoreline management.
I agree.
Yeah.
and
And a lot of it might be just, here's another education thing, and maybe we just keep a running list of things that we want to put out in monthly newsletters. And in this one, we're going to do a blurb on Fire Smart, and on that one, we're going to do a blurb on, hazardous plants to watch for along the shoreline, and different
Yeah.
things like that.
You have that stuff too on the or not Facebook, you do Facebook, but on the webpage too, like at residents.
yeah, we did put
Say-
one on the water hemlock on the website before, I don't- probably before you were.
Oh, probably before we.
Because that's why this is really I found it very informative, so the more we can get into here is because it's telling me what still needs to be worked on, it's the direction. So that if council's happy and adding in whatever you need, this is giving the direction of where I need to start working towards to help. And bring it to you guys, and this is so that we can get more education to the residents. And help bring about those changes that have already been happening through the provinces and stuff, and we can work on it here.
Yeah.
And it's also a tool that you could use if there's a problem and someone says something and then you could refer to the document. So
Yes.
the only thing I was wondering too is this document going to be easy to change if it's attached to the lease?
Well, it's gonna have to be reviewed, it should be like any other thing you build, it should be reviewed every 5
But
years.
is it a commitment to the
But we-
province that now ties our hands for the next 20 years?
Because we
No.
never reviewed that lease once.
I think what this is helping with, and the reason we're doing this is because there are certain things that you may want to do with the beach, and if we go to do our license of occupation saying that we have a shoreline management plan.
So it's just an appendage to the
Yes,
lease or
yes, the
Okay.
municipality is requesting based on, we did a plan. We want to do this with the beach line, do you want to make an actual beach area that you want to rake, maintain? We can get that in a license, if you wanted to put a actual playground on that licensed occupation, you could. If you put it into a plan, it's part of the approvals.
yeah.
So
Okay.
it's giving you the opportunity
yeah,
now
so
to
the-
think ahead.
So the municipality has the power to change this anytime,
Well, this is your guidance tool,
you know, but
So-
it's
but
it's not
through
part
the
of the
province.
lease.
That's right.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
that's,
This document doesn't give the details, it just kind of gives the intentions of the overall plan.
and that's all the province wants to know is, do you have some intentions of where you're going to take your municipality? That's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
It's a tool.
So a couple other points that I've got on there. If we go down to section 7.4, storage of recreational equipment.
Seven. Or, yeah,
I think making a policy around that or reviewing policies, I'm not sure if we already have one, but I totally agree on that. Point D, it says acceptable methods to remove recreational equipment, i.e. restricting the use of off-highway vehicles. I think that's great. What isn't mentioned here is also, what would be the policy around clearing of vegetation for storage and moving of the equipment, because I know that's something that's come up before, and just to make sure that we cover that in our policy with clarity so that we have that. And I know that's going to be a difficult one to come up with something that's workable and acceptable and covers off, but I think that definitely is one that council has to tackle.
Yeah, and I think that is a re-review of your use of public lands bylaw, and as we move forward, I was looking for a recommendation, direction from council to build an MR public lands policy that kind of gives us some direction, especially with the tree maintenance.
Yeah, so it would cover tree maintenance and docks
Storage.
and lift storage and that and all
Vegetation
that stuff.
removal, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
storage.
the docks are a bit more complicated for me, but I think I'm right with you guys that, yeah, we need something.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know where to go with it. This is at this point, I don't know where you guys want me to tread. Do you want me to draft something and you just?
Well, it's kind of impossible without help from council because you're not a layperson. I mean, it's really difficult and it's the same thing with CPP and the environment people walking on the beach. If council was with them and maintenance was with them, especially Alan,
Yeah.
they would come up with different ideas. But I think what Paul's talking about, like, let's say down in between you and the boat launch, Paul.
Yeah, it's exactly what I'm thinking of. I know in the past people have cleared out trees so that they can park their lift there.
Yeah, in the winter time. So
Yeah.
that's because they don't want ice to damage their equipment. But they
Mhm.
don't, I've had people ask before. So I went down there with them and there was a way of just taking out maybe 2 dead trees and you could get your crap in there. But some people
Mowed,
just took like trees out, period.
Okay, let me come up with the tree management kind of policy. You guys gotta have to make a resolution to direct me, but I have been working on one, and I have been having conversations with insurance and with legal. I need the direction now before I
Okay.
proceed anymore.
Melissa, when you're doing that, just I'll be interested not as counselor Paul, but as resident Paul, because I had a similar experience. I had a tree come down that took out the fence and almost hit my shed and didn't damage anything, but almost did. And there are 3 or 4 big trees on the MR that are dead, and I'm looking up at them saying, when those come down, I sure hope that I'm not around and the wind's blowing the other direction. But anyways.
So can we have that conversation through the CAO report?
Yeah,
Yes.
because
That thing there.
that'll last a lifetime.
Okay, well, I'm gonna.
Okay.
What other sections in this do you want more clarity, and then I can get that, so I'll have the discussion and then I'll have them come.
Okay, I think just 2 other things that I would mention would be under 7.5 aquatic vegetation control.
Yeah.
Again, I just want this document to be really clear so that we can, make our policies and understand. It says number 21, no removal of vegetation on the berms shall be allowed. But, I think I can picture the berms and I know, there's some, I think right in front of Lauren's place, there were berms there, but it's not really clear on what are the berms and where are the maps aren't really clear to show it. They don't show that level of clarity, but just to say, okay, what makes, how do we go down there and clearly know, okay, this is a no-mow zone and this is okay. Just more clarity on the definition. And
Yeah,
again,
like,
point
are
25.
the berms, the high water mark? Is that what we're
No,
looking at?
no, berms is a mound of
Yeah, there's some
Sand,
places where there's berms and there's some
vegetation
places
that's
where there aren't.
holding it there.
Yeah,
But is that MR, ER, or shoreline?
It's
exactly.
our right of way in CJ
Good point.
H 7 and 8. It's on the right of way.
The ER.
No, well, on the right of way is
Cause if this,
ER. There is just a little wee piece.
Yeah.
Below.
So we've been told you do not touch ER. Is
Well,
that,
that's not ER that I'm talking about.
okay, but that's, so this is MR you were talking.
No, it's right of way.
Okay.
yeah, this is the problem. That berm is kind of what we've been using as the high water mark. And so anything from that berm down, we call the bend shore.
But it's
But
within
we're not.
the pegged area of the right of way. The berm.
So can I just clarify?
We need better
Is,
clarity.
is the ER and the right of way the same thing, or are we talking different things?
No, ER is just, there's only 3 or 4 in the village pieces. Jack's Pond is one, down below Gazebo Hill is another.
The long stretch.
It's a long
I thought it was the
stretch.
whole.
It is a long stretch
No.
of ER that comes to.
Right of way and municipal reserve. We don't have hardly any ER.
Well, you have a big stretch of it in front of, like, when you look.
I-
7 and 8 is all mostly ER, and
No, it's right of way.
Well, that's what
Are
I'm
you calling
confused.
it ER right away?
see the
No.
little juts, that's ER, and then from which one down to Destiny, there's a strip of ER in there.
Yeah.
Oh,
So here's a suggestion, because I know looking at the maps on this attachment, it's hard to tell anything. Can we or get CPP to do like a big wall map that, you know, we can go up to and we can see in detail, and we can see exactly where the MR lines are drawn and the ER lines in the right of way, and then we can use that as a point of reference when we're looking at a wall?
okay, one sec, I have something. Go into a folder, last meeting, I think. I had pulled down spin stuff that will actually show you some of the drawings.
ER.
Yes.
That's where the birds are. There's a little chunk there.
I
And
thought
we're gonna
ER
share it
was
to you,
basically
Paul,
the yellow.
so you can-
No.
Okay, well,
Okay.
what's this line in there? Is that ER?
This line here.
Yeah.
That's the right of way.
See it?
So that's
No,
municipal
it's
reserve.
So on this side, municipal reserve.
I know.
On that side, it's right of way.
You're right, but your use of the word right of way confuses me.
It's the part that released back
Special
to the
meeting.
village.
Special meeting.
Isn't that Emma?
No,
Okay,
it's provincially owned right of way.
hold on.
Yeah,
And
first,
so that's a third term. So there's MR, right of way, and ER.
yes,
Yeah,
so we're gonna pull up what we can find.
Shirley.
it is.
And how do I know, so do I have
Okay.
3 in front of me, or do I have 2 in front of me?
Which one do
You
you want?
have 2 in front of you for sure.
Just start opening.
So I
your
have no
one
ER
line
in front
and
of me.
walk through.
I thought-
No,
Hold
no,
on.
Everything, ER is around the whole lake.
no. So the county of
Here, we're
Stettler,
gonna share some
Oh.
spin documents that we have.
Oh crap, hold on, I had to do a different share screen.
so Danny, the county of Stettler
Do that one.
named all their
And then we're gonna
municipal
pull this
reserve in front of Bayview Street all the way down to the bay, or Roaston, ER. That was their
one.
designation.
PCF map,
Okay, not the provinces.
Can you see that on screen, Paul?
I can see that, yeah.
okay,
Okay, what do we got
so
here?
now that everyone can see it.
There's the
So
little
this
piece
is off
there.
of the government website.
This has been too.
This strip where Erin's got her mouse, that is called water management right away.
Yeah, and
Okay, and we're looking just right at
Is that
Gazebo
what-
Hill area right now, right?
This is,
Yeah,
see,
it's the,
Yeah.
Beach access 8's right over here.
Yeah,
okay.
very,
Beach access 7.
okay, so this is, we called it a water.
It's water management right away. That's what it's registered at.
and what can we or can we not do on that?
That is
in the lease.
in the lease,
So
so
we
that,
can put boats on there, boat lifts,
You're
launches.
not
we can-
allowed to store anything over
can't
14
store
days.
anything.
Okay, so this is.
So it effectively has the same rules as ER almost,
Yes.
almost,
Pretty
Yeah,
close.
but not.
okay? Yeah, you can mow it, you can't technically mow
Hold on.
ER.
I used the wrong.
Yes, you can. It says in the lease.
This is.
That has to
self
be in
and-
the leases. You
Well,
have to- what
point-
you're gonna
point-
do, where and why.
Point 25 in the shoreline management plan says mowing, trimming, and herbicide application should be minimized. Which
Correct.
isn't really clarity. What does that mean? Does that mean yes? Does that mean no? Does that mean a little bit? And so that's really where one of my comments was, you know, we need the clarity on that, like, you know.
Well, the clarity that Bob Shorten from Environment that looked after us before when Pelican View Estates were coming in. And also, Scenic Sands had clear, only half of Scenic Sands is, the brush is all gone out of there.
Closest to the boat launch now.
But he said 20% could be mowed and manicured and detoured.
Right, and that 20% needs to be within that license of occupation plan.
Right, this is boat
Of
launch.
what maintenance.
Which
we're
is
going-
not this.
Well, that's where this is referencing that we need to be getting these things in place so that when we do our license renewal, we are asking for and telling them, the plan is we're gonna do a bit of maintenance here so that we meet that 20%. Unfortunately, if we continue going down the path, we've been doing way more than.
So that little other piece of BR is at the end of Pheasant Terrace.
That's that one.
No,
No, which one says?
Well, this is actually ER,
not this.
this is for
That's a slough.
a slough, and it's actually under
At
the
the end
wetland,
of Front Street, between Front Street and.
Yeah.
right in here.
Yeah,
but
right,
then-
it's right next to you, Paul, right
Yep.
behind you is
Yep.
an ER.
And then
Yep.
the other
Okay.
one is here,
This one,
right there.
Yeah.
That's the yard.
this is your, that's not property?
No.
Oh, okay,
no.
But the problem we're having at Front Street here
Right in front of Paul.
yeah, right here.
is it's very hard to tell where the property lines are between that section there and high water mark.
And
The right of way, this is all the right of way right in here.
Well, the right of way,
this is, but the one line moves.
they got.
Yeah,
What
that
is it, again?
A
high
lot of
water right of way moves.
Yeah, a lot of it got eroded away a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it was all underwater, and now it's
Well, actually, Melissa, the right of way doesn't.
After talking with Christine and
It
Alberta,
goes out farther.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come in.
the
No,
high,
she said it
the
can't.
high water mark can move.
It can go past, but the right of way is pegged in here.
Yes,
Yes,
but she said that it could go past, and then we would, like, so if it's really high water, basically past the high water mark, that we would lose our ER mark for however long that water stays
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so to them, that becomes like bed and shore while that high water is there.
You know what she wants to do, because she's so frustrated, and so are the last people that dealt with this lake. This is what, probably the only one in Alberta that has this bloody right of way around it. The other ones that do have it, and it's important, is sources for water. Like Glenaford, for example, and like Glenmore down in Calgary. They have that to protect that
The
water
reservoir.
because it's gonna be used for human consumption.
Yeah.
And the past three environment people that have dealt with this right away around our lake, it is just for, if the lake goes too high, then the government doesn't get sued. That's why they wanted it, for damages. If it passes the right of way, so that's what Christine said to you, is very dicey. Because if it passes what's pegged in there and does damage to property, what she says, then the government's gonna be responsible. They'll say, no, we're not, the right of way is out there. So it's a real gray area. And all three of the past people that have looked after our lake would like that right of way to be there, but not as what these leases are entail, because they want it to be a normal lake, like any other lake in Alberta. So my suggestion is, and I'm gonna do it, when the IDP comes up for review next year, I'm gonna try and get all them 5 municipalities to lobby the government to treat us like an ordinary lake. That right away is just so they don't get sued. That's all it is, and that's the reason they,
So I don't
Bottom.
disagree. Unfortunately, as it exists right now, this
right,
is what
you
we're
gotta,
required.
that's what you gotta do, yeah.
Yes.
But it's a real pain in the ass.
So until the next regulation changes, we're stuck.
So do we need in this shoreline management plan, because this was news to me that we actually have four different areas. We got MR, we've got ER.
Yep.
We've got right of way, and then we've got the shore below the high water mark line.
But that's,
Public beach, I guess.
So the water management right away is the LOC. That's really what,
I need to share.
no, you can take it off, okay. It's very complicated, and I think maybe having, that's what these changes are little things to note. I'll have the discussion with CPP on these to get better clarity. And then we should schedule them for the next regular council meeting to present, and it will probably be with new council too,
Yeah.
right? So this will be a good time to open up again these discussions with the changes so that you can,
Well, and I would like to know what's allowed
yes,
on each, and residents should know what's allowed on each
yeah, and
of
that's,
these different things.
yes,
Like you can take a quad on this one, maybe, you can't take a quad on that one. You can, put a semi-permanent structure on this, or you can't, but each one needs to say, this is what, you can mow it, you can't mow it.
And I think along with that will be clear understanding. I mean, those maps that we brought up help a bit, but still, I mean, like when wandering down the shoreline, how do I say, okay, that's MR, that's ER, that's right of way and all that. Maybe we need, signs in the sand that, says, this is ER or whatever. I don't know.
that's, yeah, and that's why it'd be good for you guys to, I will have a first conversation with the things you provided,
Yeah.
the sections. And what sections do you want for review
You have a
clarity?
couple.
We have a few.
Yeah, and just to be clear then, and then I think what we're asking, I think this would be really helpful. So if this shoreline management plan specifically, helps educate that there's these four different types of land, and then, throughout it, if something applies to all of them, then be clear on that, or if something only applies to right of way or an ER, then be clear on that. And so we can move forward with some understanding without continual confusion on this.
Yeah.
And maybe the things will apply to everything, and that's fine. Just say it applies to everything, whether it's MR or ER or whatever.
you're correct, Paul. Definitely, the mapping in this thing is the shits.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, it needs to
Like,
be color coded better.
clarify, and some of the lines on there, it's not their fault, but some of the lines are not proper.
Well, let's,
But I'll go through my stuff to help, because I
Okay.
really get upset with this.
Okay.
People, it's not their fault. It's just they don't know what has been done in the past with permission. And they don't know that there's this other document, the Buffalo Lake Integrated Shoreline Plan, that guides us as well.
Hmm.
So that has to be incorporated into this. But not all of it. And I showed Melissa the other day, because you can get a gander at this. So the Buffalo Lake Integrated Shoreline Management Plan,
which was done in 20.
I think.
Yeah, 2010, 2011.
It's online, and it specifies in that document what we can do.
Okay. Is that different than the intermunicipal development plan that you gave?
Oh, yeah.
Kathy, a few months back?
It was a government document put together
With all the communities.
they had extensive open houses over it.
Okay.
And it was done for the stabilization, for the right of way.
Okay. Can you forward a link for that around, or can somebody email a link for
Yeah,
it?
I can. I found it on the government site, so it's
Okay.
all fine.
And I think you have a hard copy, don't you?
I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, not a
Yeah,
bad.
just-
No, I have a different one.
yeah.
We'll still send it out to everyone, how about that?
Yeah, just electronics, fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what were
So
the
you want
sections?
so that's not, that document's not in that document,
No.
so you want that kind of implemented, like,
Just say, ask them
Reference-
to
reference
review.
material.
I don't know if they
material.
have to, because I think council can, well, if it's gonna be,
Well, no,
Change.
this is
Put it
your
in all-
document.
yeah.
This is a living
Like a
document
Buffalo Lake.
to
or-
guide you as a tool in your policy making.
Or like calling Buffalo Lake
Buffalo Lake Integrated Shoreline Management Plan, and it was done in May 2010.
Yeah, May 2010.
And
So
so,
how does it relate to this shoreline?
I don't know if you can see, Paul, but this is the cover of the document that you would find online.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually
Oh,
easy
you
to
did.
just look it up and it'll pop up.
And then it gives you a map of the lake, and then also what could be done in, because we're in a recreational area and it's in red. And it says right in here what we can do and cannot do. But then the government has different ideas. But this is the Holy Grail. They made it. And they have not, they don't like it, but it's still online and they want to get rid of it, but then they have to make a big,
New one.
yeah. Anyway, I'll shut up.
Oh, no, that word say.
Okay, so just on 1.2,
1.2,
I just wanted to, and we all know now, November 21st was when the lease was up, and we took it in the year 2000, obviously, and that was for the coming up of the stabilization. On the planning area, they have lot, so the next page, planning area, lot 22, and there's no designation. And it's 1 or 2.5 acres.
no designation.
Yeah,
25 acres.
And what should it be?
I don't know. But it's probably just a miss thing. And then also they have on the last two, Northwest 2740 20 west of the 4th,
Yeah,
0.7 acres, and there's no designation. There's 3 things on there, and Crown Land Parcel 4, there's no designation. Like Crown Land Parcel, I guess it means, but where the hell is it?
okay, so we need clarity on that.
Yeah, that whole, the stuff that
Yeah.
designation is gone. And then I got that map that they got at the bottom. That's just useless,
Why is it there? Yeah.
and it doesn't include the whole village. Make a proper map of the village
Need a
on one
clear,
page,
proper map. Okay, got it.
just the map that's the bottom.
And if it's and if the detail is too hard to see, make a big map on a plotter that they can bring along to the meeting as well, so we can look at it.
Yeah, and or, you know, however they do it, yeah. But it should be clear in the document.
Mhm.
Okay, so 3.2
3.2,
is this isn't anything to do with you, Aaron.
No, I don't need to write.
No.
comment.
It's just you know, there's lots of people that mention the land stewardship acts within the areas, the zones within Alberta. I think there's 7 of them.
yeah,
But important thing that they put in there, and it's true, Red Deer River Basin is not been negotiated or put into paper. It's named, but there's no consultation been done. And it's a regional plan and it's not there. So that's an important thing. If someone says ELSA in the Red Deer River Basin, all you can say, there isn't one. There's just a name.
Isn't the Red Deer
Okay.
isn't the Red Deer River Basin strictly speaking part of the South Saskatchewan River watershed?
Not in the Alberta land stewardship. But all I'm saying is it is a good thing they put that in there because it's not
it's not yet begun.
relevant to
Well,
us.
there's a typo in the first sentence too. We have a new province of Labert.
Yeah,
Where is that?
I see it too. I looked at that, thought,
The very first sentence under 3.2.
yeah,
About the 10th word in, it's province of Labert.
yeah,
Oh,
I'm thinking it's supposed to be.
Oh,
The French are coming, the French are coming.
Darn spell check.
Should be Alberta, yes.
Yeah, You can tell if that's what they were trying to
Yeah.
get to, but something went really wrong.
Okay, and so the next one's 3.9, and you've got the message now about the Buffalo Lake Integrated Shoreline Management Plan.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's really important that you guys go over that, especially the mapping and what you can and cannot do in the 4 different districts around the lake. Or 5, whatever there is.
So that should go for 3.9 conversation. Cause they did the one, know why the other one's not listed.
Sure, so I got 3.9 is what?
3.9 is that integrated shoreline plan.
Okay.
Buffalo Lake Integrated Shoreline Management Plan.
So we need to clarify, is that what they're talking about here? I don't know.
Okay.
So then on 3.13, it's got within the planning area, there are 3 lots of ER. But on our map, there's 4. So I don't know whether there's a mistake there or
So need clarity.
like on a visitor's map. So I don't know if it's true or not.
So our visitor map says 4.
Yeah.
Okay, need clarity on the ER. That's what I'm gonna
Is
put.
there 3 or?
3 or 4. I'm gonna have lots to talk about in this meeting.
The visitor map needs to be updated anyways because the hall's not on there. There's
Yeah.
for it.
And the emergency access. plans.
And
So there's something needs to be done anyways.
We're working on.
And
trying
this
to get
this
to
map
that.
is just like, it's not official, but it would be on our index map.
Yeah.
So then there should be 5 if we include that one up on Earl's Way. So, but I don't know that. So just,
We'll get clarity.
yeah. Okay. Recreational lease,
3.14.
yeah,
3.14, sorry.
it's just the just, I think we've got to be careful and see that we can still basically do what we've been doing, but cut back on some of it. I think that's what the
Well,
Cobbins
yeah, it
says.
says here, it's forming part of the lease, which means it's the lease. I
Yeah,
think you need to say that it informs or something, it provides background information or for the new lease. But I don't think it's an appendix to the new lease, I don't know,
Yeah,
but it shouldn't be
it's a
part
step.
of the new lease, or it is not able to be changed.
Yeah, so that's the
So the
point.
shoreline master plan is intended to form part of the agreement. Is that where you're talking about?
Yes.
It should be something
intended
that's
to,
fluid that the future councils can change
yes,
Yes.
instead of have it locked in with the lease.
maybe I got an idea. Intended to form as a tool for the municipality. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
It's background information, it's not.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to get saddled with that because you'll never
no,
get,
this,
you'll never get the right answer from, you could ask 3 different departments.
to me, this is
Yeah.
like meeting a requirement because like a municipal development plan, you need to have some kind of strategy to guide you.
Yep.
This is what this is, a strategy to guide
A
us.
guidance document.
Yes,
There you
Yeah,
go. As part of a guidance document for the agreement or something.
yeah.
so the next thing I just had, just on there as part of the lease, the mowing, the harrowing, the
What's,
thistle
what's
and
that?
the water, hemlock, and it's just on that 3.14. I just,
Yeah, and I think we're gonna
It-
incorporate that into some of the other points, like Paul was saying, is we need better clarity on that. We need to know what,
and mapping.
yes, mapping is another one, we want better mapping.
So for example, the fire road from the boat launch to
One.
just about to,
In between beach access 1 and 2, I know where it is,
yeah, we built a fire road in there,
yes,
but then at one time, just the fire road was mowed and maintained. But now it is all taken down. And it was all brush in there and little.
Yeah,
brush.
but okay. I think
So
that's another
it-
policy we have to.
It should be mapped anyway, somehow.
Yeah, no, that's a fire management policy in another sense that we need to work on, because then you're gonna lay out the clarity of how are those being used? Is it just, we've got it signed now as what was brought up at the annual information meeting? We've done that, we've got signs on them all. Now you're gonna have to decide, is that their only use, or are they gonna be used for other things on top? I need good clarity. on
Yeah,
that, so that's gotta go on a
it's
policy.
confusing, yeah. Okay.
Was there other key points in the sections between sections 4, 5, any points in there you want me to get clarity on?
There's a lot like in that shoreline assessment.
Yeah, 4.2.
When was that done? Do you know?
November 2024, it says it on the top of that page.
Yeah. They walked it last year. Last fall.
Okay.
That's where you had your first assess.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we need a map.
Bill was involved when they walked.
No,
Bill
no,
wasn't involved?
no.
They just,
This was last year,
Oh,
last fall. They walked this and then they provided
Oh,
you.
yes, sorry,
Yeah,
then CPP walked it, not environment.
Right, and then they gave you the one
Pete was here.
document that we put out there to show people the different dynamics of the lake water.
Okay, so that map on 4.2 is ridiculous. Same, it's, even if they could make a reference that you could go on, let's say, click on that and it.
How
would
about
come up.
reference maps should be as appendix to be bigger?
Yeah,
Would
and
that be better?
even if
It's
people,
kind of useless to me.
Yes.
okay, wetlands. This would be on 4.4.
Yep.
So 10 meters from a wetland, but we have outhouses on 7 and 8 that are not within that, but they were approved. The same as the park over at the provincial park. Like, they've got their outhouses on the 100 year.
And that's where these will go into the license of occupation as part of the plan of what is existing and what else we want to do in the future. And that's why this is the tool that you're looking for, so we can continue moving this forward and know future. What is the expectations? What do you want to provide as a beach?
Okay, and I'm just gonna add to that.
Yep.
Roshan Sands mows all their 100 year.
Right to the water, right to the sand. That's their disc golf. They got a massive.
And all the golf course that used to be there,
Those,
right? That's all mowed. So if the government's gonna tell us something, I'll take them over there.
they've already been there.
I know from previous talks that the disc golf wasn't on there, of course, so it has to go onto their lease as well, and their marina. Marina
Yeah.
wasn't on there either, or the parking lot, or the power poles.
And same with the
Over
golf
there.
course, they were never on there either, their original golf course. So
No.
we're all past history,
Yeah,
we're bringing
We're
forward
caught.
and
Yeah.
catching up.
okay, and important, they got in there no herbicide, but also it's probably in the other
Yeah.
thing, you know.
Any other key points of need better clarity?
Well,
Typos.
I'm going. Docking and mooring, they're supposed to have, they're supposed to have a new document out,
I don't see it.
nothing. So just be careful on what's there. That photo that's sitting there, well, that's Dennis Blaze built that place, and that's over at Roshan Sands. So
Maybe pictures from
put a
here.
picture of a bird in there, not Roshan Sands.
Good call. I couldn't
Only
recognize it.
Yeah,
But-
only use municipal.
But also Roshan Sands, shoreline management plan is, they did theirs too, so whatever.
Actually, no, they're actually authorizing, they just did in their budget as approving to do exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, no, but they have had one for years.
Yeah,
Oh, that picture. There, that page, make it.
page 10, 5.2.
Okay, 5.4, just a comment. And I brought it up when the Buffalo Lake Integrated Management Plan was being made. And it says they're, taking the equipment off and taking it back to private property or MR or whatever would do extensive environmental damage. And that's really good that that's in there.
What point is that again? Sorry?
That's
5.4.
5.4,
It's extremely.
There's no changes, it's
No
just,
changes.
it's good.
referencing that it's good, that's.
Yeah.
And then aquatic vegetation, we're looking at that one has to be more questions.
Just
And
another
every day.
comment on 5.7, the tracks on the beach there, they probably, like, I know that they were coming down from the boat launch because the lake is so low, so we got
We'll
pretty
make
good,
complaints about that and just
Yes.
forward it to Christine.
yeah.
We're getting actually a lot of complaints.
And on 6.2 planning principles, no marina. I just have that as a question. You don't have to put it there. It's just something for you guys to,
I'll put it there. 'cause it's-
Marina,
okay.
not a question mark.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure on 7.1, part 2, says the Summer Village White Sands will pursue enforcement and notification and action with,
Land use, which is under our
Right.
jurisdiction. Development activities, which is under our jurisdiction. So it's just kind of laying out the policies and the regulations that are within our purview that we're going to
Okay.
have to get
okay,
more.
as long as they don't, we're careful they don't involve us with mooring,
Oh,
docking, any of that. We're not gonna do any.
No,
insurance.
they're talking about how we do our management of the shoreline, any adopted statutory plans, which is your IDP, your MDP, those kind of things, which are what we're supposed to do as part of the legislative. And any of your bylaws and MGA. That's all.
Okay, so on 7.2, Melissa, that,
Yeah.
Bolton told you that, Christine told you that the dock can go out quite a ways, but this says 50% of the waterfront holders lot width, and that's in the legislation, so that should be cleaned up somehow.
Okay, which point is this?
This is
5B,
5B?
yeah.
A and B.
Well, they,
Yeah, sorry, B.
B,
It's basically saying you can't go out any further than 50%.
Of the waterfront holders lot
I
width
thought that wasn't
or
the case.
semi-waterfront holders lot width. So they're talking about the width of your property.
yeah, so I got a 16-foot wide, so the only, I could go,
But that's in the legislation because
Oh, so that's saying you can't have you can't have a highway width-wise, not, it doesn't have anything to do with length.
correct,
Just
just width.
But you've already
So
said
if
you can't be
you're
more than
increase-
1.5 meters. Why do you have to say that then?
it's
The
confusing.
width of
size.
a walkway for a temporary seasonal dock shall not exceed 1.5 meters. I got that, okay. The total size of the temporary seasonal dock, including the terminal platform and walkway, in any configuration shall not exceed 50% of the waterfront holders lot width or semi-waterfront holders lot width as measured from the holders projected property line closest to the current water line.
It's not.
What does it mean?
doesn't-
That's in the province of Alberta's disturbance standard for temporary.
If you got a 50-foot wide lot, then your platform at the end of your dock, if you have one, can't be more than 25 feet.
That's right.
So you're talking a swimming platform?
Well, just like our dock, we have a 4 foot wide, and then it widens out to 12 feet wide at the end, and we just have a 12-foot wide.
Oh,
That's right.
so
That's
they
what they're-
mean the T at the end.
Yes,
put it-
that's in the
so
standards.
Just plain
Just so you
English.
just so you don't block access to the shore, essentially, of anybody coming in from the water. You know, if you have a 50-foot wide lot and you've got a 50-foot wide end on your dock,
Yeah,
then you kind of cut off access to your shore or from shore.
and this is actually in the Alberta disturbance
So
standard.
this is is this their wording?
That's what it says here, in accordance with the province of Alberta's.
Okay,
disturbance.
well, then we can't do nothing about it, but it's really great.
Yeah,
I'll-
it's
I'll get
difficult to
that.
understand. I
Yes,
think.
I'll ask them if
Which
this
was
is
the,
7.25B. But I see what you're saying, Paul, I got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I didn't know that that's what that said.
I think if you look through the docking and mooring documents, which I haven't done for a few years, but it was all in there.
It
That's
might,
what I'm thinking.
it might be on the diagrams too,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Just a question again. So on item number 10, what if someone puts a dock in the water with no application? Not our business? Or should it?
we're only giving
stay-
it right away. We're giving you to cross our MR access. Then if somebody comes to us, we'll have them give them the number and you call Alberta Environment and you report it.
Good, okay.
Done.
We discussed that. Did okay there. Just for information, on 7.6, item 26, I think the government is, by my people that I've had contact with, I think they're thinking of reducing that from wetland for developments and stuff. So that's just maybe in the works.
Yeah, it could be, but those are policy recommendations that we need to look at in the MDP and the LUB. Land use file. And this has already been forwarded to Angela to say add to the list.
And then on 7.8, the signage thing. I don't know.
7.8.
Yeah,
Yeah, these are recommendations, and these are all discussions that will direct your budgets and strategic planning so that council can decide.
So what does that mean? We're gonna put up a bunch of signs that say, point to what? Like, what's it telling us? What's it gonna tell the people that are on the shore?
These are gonna be discussions you're gonna wanna look at in relation to other issues that we're running into, so. Right now, this is just a policy recommendation, doesn't mean you have to do it, but it's a consideration. And I think it's going to fall in with some of the other issues that we're gonna be dealing with when I get to my CAO report or in the correspondence.
In my mind, and I think we'll have to work through all the logistics of this, but if we're going to be clear and enforce in a dock dock storage policy that you can't put your docks on, the right of way, the provincial right of way, then we kind of have an obligation to make it clear where that is. So
This
maybe
is
we have
the
signs that
provincial-
says right away, left MR to the right or something like that. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out, but I think that would be helpful if we're telling people you can't put it somewhere for them to be able to know where they're standing.
yeah, and then there's that piece in the draft here that says it would be very detrimental to the environment to drag all that crap
Out.
Yep. So there's gonna be a lot of things we're gonna have to look at as we're implementing or developing. And the effects that they'll have, right?
Mhm.
I think that's about it. I'm sorry, but I really, if you're
Paul?
gonna,
How are you anymore?
Dan?
No.
Dan?
I think it's been important to go through this in detail because it's going to mean a lot and it's going to,
Yes.
Yeah,
So how do you want to do this motion? I have
So-
a list.
so
So
the
there's-
idea is that all this will be taken to CPP and then in a fall meeting, then they'll come in and we'll have this discussion again, but tear it all apart again and discuss it with them.
So motion for administration to review the comments provided by council with CPP and schedule a follow-up meeting, delegation meeting to council at a regular scheduled fall meeting.
Yes,
Did I cover that
sure.
good?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
all in favor? Yep.
Just give me 1 second. Somebody just rang the doorbell.
Okay.
I think it's just my daughter.
Yeah, I think this works out. Yay. I have more work to do.
Good, how are you? Good. I'm just in a meeting right now.
Yep, no worries, no, you fine, you know, sorry about that.
No problem. Just may close the door so the cat doesn't get out.
It's in 24. Side for side, so
Okay,
it's
I'm back.
the page.
Yes, so this
There,
is not on
Mr.
the
Chair.
agenda, this is your addition, Chair.
So at the AGM of the Hall Society, and it was, Melissa, I did talk to you about this a while back.
You brought it up, but it wasn't anything that I felt I had to be concerned with.
Well, they have concerns. But I mentioned it, and the girl that's doing the hall bookings now is, she's not happy doing it, and I don't think anybody else wants to take it on.
So I had a conversation with her, because she called when Melissa's here, and because that email was sent to all of you guys about this. She's like, if it's a problem, she will continue on, kind of thing, like she'll just continue doing it, but she says she is the middleman kind of thing between the two, the Hall Society and the municipality. And it probably would be easier for the municipality because say withholding all the funds, but she said she'll continue to do it. And I just said, council will be discussing at their meeting.
And just to clarify, when it was brought to our attention, when you mentioned it to us that you attended, and that it was directed to them to have discussions with their society, the email just seemed very unexpected.
Here it is. Yeah, you're doing it now. So do we have a problem with bringing it internal into here?
I think it can be done, but there is going to be things that we're gonna have to look at, because you're talking, these are weekend rentals, so now we have to be available on the weekends.
For someone you hire to be available to make sure.
Yeah, to make sure they can come and do inspections, we're gonna have deposits, how are we gonna deal with, because I'm not gonna leave something that if it's done on Sunday, we need to inspect and we need to review, and if we're gonna hire somebody, does it come out of deposits? It's not as simple, it's a little more complicated, and then of course, like the preparation stuff that we already do is not the issue. Cause we're already making sure the sewer, the water, it's just making sure that now we're gonna have somebody available on the weekends. Then what part are we taking care of? Are we just taking care of certain things, or are we taking care of the whole hall? Because there are additional things that go on, there's additional keys out there, and who's going to be taking the onus if we check one thing and something else goes wrong, are we to blame?
And they had a thing too, just recently, back to keys, is that someone rented a hall, cleaned it up good. The person who does the hall rentals for the Hall Society came in and checked, gave the okay, it was good. When the exercise crew or whatever came in the next time, or whoever was the next person came in, it was a mess someone had gone through, and There was a mess and stuff like that had to be cleaned up before these people who are here regularly had to go and use it. So there's a couple of extra keys out and we don't know who lived in there.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, so there's other things going on with the hall that we don't always know, but we're trying to track more and more so that we're having a balance of the duties we do. But now, then, okay, so there's a rental, so now we gotta come in, say it's Saturday rental, we have to have somebody available on Friday, we have to come in. We have to make sure it's all cleaned, it's proper, because we don't know.
So it's not just the booking, but it's the management of that.
But
Exactly.
the person who's doing it now
Before
is
and
feeling
after.
if something happens, it's, they're like, she's the contact person. So, like the furnace the one time, you got called about it, and you just said,
Well, at that point,
call the plumber. Like,
call
you
a
got,
plumber in and
you
get
get
the,
the, tell, like, she's telling you because she's called the plumber, so they did it through the proper process. But then it just, that's what I had heard.
and then unfortunately, somebody else has a husband who is very smart. I'm not that smart, I can't go in and play with the furnace.
Yeah. What did you hear at the meeting? That, what was their main concern? Just the logistics of having to book and, or was it the management of it?
I think the
Stress.
the stress about if something goes wrong, the person is just gonna phone,
That person.
phone either Melissa or Aaron. I guess,
They call me and I respond.
Or email, you got that too.
Yeah.
so I don't think it's anything to do with just, if it was, the rental was handled, I don't understand why the village shouldn't be doing it, because if the Hall Society doesn't want, maybe take it on. I don't know, it is, to me, it's,
If you do take it
It's
on,
very
like, we
simple.
have suggestion if someone wants to help, cause they did it before.
you want me to do it?
Well, if you would like as a suggestion, but if you don't want to, that's,
That would be volunteering your time.
or whatever, right?
Well, I'll think about that and see what Kathy says.
Cause I know you went away at times too, so that also changes things as well.
I think for us, it's just, if we take over management, it's not just, we manage the other stuff that we need to as the municipal. If we take on more, are we doing more like a recreation? Like other municipalities, they manage a recreation facility.
Yeah.
Consider this the same way, and then we have to decide who's got access, how are we gonna monitor? And that was always the problem before. Now we're really tracking, so we're trying to make sure we know we're on top of our maintenance.
So at Roshan Sands, for example, Aaron, so the rental income goes to the Hall Society.
The Hall Society does everything there, and then they only, at the end of the year, submit in a,
And that's changing as of possibly as of last night in the
okay,
council meeting, cause they have a bylaw, and that's another thing too, they have a bylaw.
yes.
Of an agreement between the Hall Society and the Sands municipality. Cause before, for the Hall Society, they had the power and the gas, so they would, at the end of the year, invoice Roshan Sands. But now they're switching that Roshan Sands will put that all in their name, cause they can get better rates from municipality
Sure.
rates and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we'll invoice
Invoice the Hall
Hall
Society.
Society for their lump sum, same with, like if there's like an event, oh, sorry. They're also part of the regional recreation board,
Oh, yeah.
that's a little different over there too. So like when the furnace and the boiler, or just, I don't know, one of the things in the back room went down and needed to be done, and they needed a gas fitter to come in and change everything out, so part of it was paid through the rec.
The rep,
Part of it they paid for, and then they came to council and asked if they could pay for some of it too, so it depends what you wanna do, because it is a municipal asset. that
but the
building to
rec
you guys.
system, there is a bylaw,
Yeah.
and there is an agreement, and it's pretty clear.
And then like
They
they do all
manage
the booking, they do the booking and management, the clean, who hires for cleaning and all that stuff. I think just Roshan Sands really just focuses on just the maintenance of the building itself, so like help with the furnace and water, things like that. They also are testing their water. They get just all weekly.
Yeah.
Weekly or monthly.
I'm still a little confused about exactly what they're asking. Are they asking us to just take over the bookings because we have a phone and call the office to book the hall? Or is it now we do have, getting in the cleaning and do a pre-inspection and making sure people have keys and,
Well, that's what comes with a hall rental.
well, but that's what I'm saying. Is it the rental? Or is it simply the booking that somebody wants us to do the booking?
I cannot give you any more than what you received in the email. I don't know.
Well, that's all I know, is that they just, she just, just with the, collection of rent and, return of the.
So we will be turning all rentals back to the village.
But then when we do hall rentals, there's inspection,
There's all of that.
there's a whole big picture that goes with it, not as simple as,
Well, maybe somebody should have a discussion with Andrea directly.
should we maybe direct them to be a delegation to have this discussion to you guys in the fall with the new council?
Cause maybe just finish off the year and decide or whatever.
Like, cause if you're gonna look at this, it should be a full review and kinda get us feel for what their expectations are.
Well, maybe there should be an agreement, the same as Roshan signs.
Maybe.
Yeah, I can look at for that bylaw, have them send it to, if that's what got passed last night, cause it wouldn't be like first, it would be.
Yeah, let's look and see what they do.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good
So
idea.
how about a resolution to have administration review how Roshan stands? All
And to
society?
clarify with them, what they think, like, they would like to continue doing and what we
How about we have that be a delegation to council so you can actually ask.
ask these questions, sure.
That's a good discussion
Okay.
for you.
Yeah, and they, also, they've changed their, like, they used to have a meeting all throughout the year.
Yeah.
But now they just have one meeting where there's the annual meeting, the
Yeah.
rest is
Yeah.
just for
Executive meeting.
executive. Yeah.
So to request 2 members of the Hall Society to come as a delegation.
Piece
To
to
ask about this transition or this proposed transition.
Do you want us to still investigate
I
and?
think we should, yeah.
Okay,
It's always good to know.
Yeah, so I meant to review what Roshan Sands does. I'll word it a lot eloquently, but their hall, and request to have 2 delegates from the White Sand Hall Society in the fall regular council meeting.
Yes,
I mean, we could even ask what Erskine does as well.
Yeah,
do you wanna add that in? Cause we.
Well,
yeah, that one's at the IOFF.
But who owns it? Doesn't the village own
Yeah,
it?
I could.
What's the relationship? Just to kind of look at a couple
Yeah,
different models.
Look at relationship models of
We can do
Broken
Earth,
Sands.
I know the 2, I know that's the egg society over there, not the hall. You know,
Most communities, societies usually have it.
yeah. So Roshan, Erskine, Denelda, et cetera, those are open for you to
Okay, we'll do
investigate.
some
As
investigation.
with their halls and request to have 2 delegates from the White Sand Hall Society in the fall regular council meeting. So
Yes.
last time in the fall.
To attend.
To attend.
Okay. Committee reports. Are you there?
Yep.
Hold on. Okay, there, okay, Mayor,
So,
Can oh, you need a
I'm just gonna
recess?
step to the washroom if you don't mind. Do you want a break or anybody else?
5-minute recess?
5-minute recess?
You
Paul?
can go let your
Sure.
cat out, Paul.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Or in.
sounds good.
Great.
Hey, I'll mute us for that. Bye.
Just wait for Paul. And that's why it's good that we're working on all these policies and stuff, is because.
Yeah, but that means you should be working 5 days a week. I can say what I want, last time.
I know.
Then I'll come as a ratepayer and give you shit.
I know you will. I'm waiting for the other hat.
Hey, Paul,
Hey,
welcome back.
So we're back at 11:48, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, okay, I guess I'll go first. There's my report. I made it short for you guys. That fire and flood
Yeah.
over in Red Deer, I went and there again, and I talked to the manager because the Dakota guy wasn't there. And he's willing to come out and either do an assessment with us, as well as set something up in a contract form, but he also suggested that if council wanted, that he would look for some used equipment, and instead of having a big expensive piece sitting here and get it sized right, like this guy is really, well, all their services go to most of it to big municipalities in the provincial government. That's.
Yeah.
And they're really professional. So I, if you want me to follow up on it, I will, or else if you want to do it, you can. I know if I tour them around the village, I know where all the basins are and everything else, and problem area is probably here.
So council, do you want to do a resolution directing Lauren to let him do the assessment, and then they can provide us a written report?
With some ideas, thoughts anyway, yeah.
Yeah. That's not committing any,
No,
There's no financial commitment to it.
no.
but you'd have to do it in a resolution.
Yeah,
And then
because I don't want,
would be providing a report back.
I don't care about that, because I certainly will, because I'm kind of halfway into it, but I don't want to interfere politically or do things that I'm not supposed to be doing.
What would you guys like? Leaving it to you, council?
Well, I think there's no point in somebody else jumping in right away into it because you've got the background in it. One of the things that you could just finish up.
Okay, I'm
Sure.
gonna do that.
So to continue this, that's what the fire and flood.
Motion to approve, Lauren, continue with the
Discussion.
discussion with fire flood. Complete assessment and provide a written.
No, just provide, I don't know if we need, we need a report back.
Yeah, and
Yes.
that's something that have to go in your strategic plan or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a written report.
Okay, and then
Report.
that little girl, were you at that meeting about fire? No, I guess you weren't.
Hold on, who's doing the motion and did we
Oh, we
approve
didn't,
it?
we didn't vote on it, and
I'll make that motion.
I'm good with that.
No, you gotta vote. You can't abstain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vote.
It's
Okay.
carried. Okay,
So with at that fire meeting, Danny, there was that little girl from Castor, and she mentioned that Hour Zero program.
Oh, yeah, the schools use that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and she's a school teacher in Castor.
Yeah.
So she's working with Rob Lane on
Oh, yeah.
that program,
Okay.
just to let you know, because I
Good.
phoned her yesterday.
and I've been working with Rob too.
Luella Lee.
Oh.
They're just on Buffalo Road where that barn shaped shed is, and stuff from Castor.
That's community, what's it called? Community Park, White Fast Community,
They had a title,
I don't know what that community.
fire committee, community fire committee. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kinda came up with a name.
We was speaking to Rob Lane, about hour zero.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have to do that every year on the same.
Okay.
For about hour zero. Implication, is that what she's thinking? Implementation? Is that what she's thinking? Or were
I
they?
think
Just
it's just,
strategies,
they're
just
just
ideas.
Oh,
getting
strategy.
ideas flowing
Okay.
around and maybe
Yeah.
they'll take it on, I don't know, whatever it is about.
Okay, I'll just do strategies and ideas.
Okay, the grills. So I looked into, like, there's some 2 flat grills in there for pancakes and
Yeah.
whatever, but there's some problem with the valves as far as mounts and stuff, and whether they're working. But they haven't been used forever, and so someone pilfered our propane tanks, 3 of them are gone. And actually I got 2 that I just filled up. I'll give to the village. But then, I don't know, they should probably be stored in cold storage or whatever. And then when we got broken into the shed, they took the hoses. Because if you're gonna run them inside there, we need hoses to put the propane tank
Yeah.
out of the building. And the hoses are gonna be, well, 20 footers, and I don't think that's long enough. They were $70 each. So and then also to get them grills up and running, I gotta get the hoses, and I have to get heat. So I can use Pumice Stone on them both to clean them, because someone boiled them and then put
Plastic bags on.
plastic bags on it, and it all throughout the years that haven't been used, it's all
It
stuck
melted on
on
there.
there. So I've done them before, but I think it's gonna probably cost around, it could be up towards $500, and I don't.
So
know.
why are we fixing these up? Are we doing pancake breakfasts or anything
Well,
like that?
all
There was,
society
the whole
asked them.
society asked,
Oh, okay.
and we kind of, well, we're not ready with this because we're still working on other stuff. So I think,
You know what, I
I
think,
think this should be put into a discussion and maybe a policy on what are we gonna do with those things? And then create a plan.
Cause if
And
you're looking at
then-
$500, you can get like, not the cost conversion account chef, but the one up that we have, which is a good grill. It comes if you can do a flat top on top of it, you're looking at almost at that price. Just my,
yeah, they have been flat top,
Yeah.
So I think this should be a review of some of the assets we have that are just kind of here.
yeah, so I'll just forget about it for now, but I think the Health Society wanted it because someone used to take it to a restaurant and brown a hamburger for their taco and bike.
Oh.
And
Well, I mean, I have no problem, getting it fixed up. I just want to know, was there purpose for these? Like,
And then how are we going to, moving forward, maintain?
well, that's the problem,
That
because
is-
a lot of people have never worked with grills before, just did it in a restaurant or something and left, and the cook cleaned them up at nighttime and that kind of deal.
And I think this should be along with that delegation of overall discussion.
Yeah, you
because-
could put it on there.
Yeah.
so you can rent, that can be part of rental, but they have to provide their own propane tanks. There's a specific list of what you need to do for cleaning. Cause Roche and Sands has that big commercial flat grill, and they have a list what you need to do if you use it,
Yes,
and what you need to do to clean it. And then it gets tracked and
Okay.
comes out of a deposit.
So I'll
and
just
do
hold
it.
off on that.
Yeah,
But
I
if you
think
want to get them running again.
That's a discussion.
Yeah, okay, then the last thing is a one arranged tour for Danny and Paul. And possibly maybe Pete Andrews. And if you wanted to come, to do the transfer station at Shirley McClellan in Stettler. And so it's just out by the airport there. So that would give you a real good idea where the water gets dispersed and how it does. And then also down at the plant, the water plant at the river, to go take a tour through that. if anybody's interested. And then also, go down to the, pump house at the Red Deer River for the stabilization.
I was just gonna suggest, that's one that I think we should add to that for sure.
Absolutely,
Like,
yeah.
we hear about it, oh, then we can raise okay, what is a pump this big, or is it that big, or what's a gate like, and so I think that would be worthwhile, for sure.
Yeah,
Would you wait until after elections?
yeah, and it would have to be probably before winter.
Yeah.
And on a Friday, Paul, I don't know if you could maybe
And
arrange.
who would you
Yeah.
make arrangements with?
Well,
Whoever
I'd
need
do-
access.
Do the, Melissa
Operator.
at the, on the Stetler, the engineer, would arrange it for the plant. And then, the,
For the plant, yeah, that's a easy
Yeah,
one.
and
My
for the
other one
Shirley-
is the one I'm trying to figure out, who would you arrange for that?
oh, Dennis Johnson. For the pumping station,
Yes.
Yes.
yeah, I already asked him.
Pumping station and the gates, yes.
No, I'll arrange this thing because.
Okay, just give us the details and I'll get it.
So you're gonna do this for the new council?
And
Yeah,
so-
Yeah,
And who's Peter Andrews? Is he, or Peter?
Oh,
Andrews?
he wanted to get involved with the pumping station because he's done pumps.
That's
extensively.
Buffalo Pete?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, he was very interested. He was interested to see the pumping system, to see the gates.
see what the province has done.
Yeah, and
And
he's
he's got some ideas.
it's professional, yes, he wants to know more about it.
Okay,
He was
Yes.
asking all kinds of questions, and I went, I don't know, I've never seen him, so,
I
yes,
haven't
I didn't
seen
know,
the
okay, that would be
transportation.
worthwhile, for sure.
okay, no, that's
He's got
fine.
some expertise, and he might,
He's gonna provide for advocacy for you guys because it is provincial, right?
yeah,
So
Yeah, this
that
is
could
just
be
a
advocacy stuff.
tour, but if he talked to Dennis down at the pumping station, Pete talked to Dennis.
Yeah.
Then if that contact is there, then that would be very, very valuable because he could probably cut the power on a different pump down there in half.
I'm done.
Okay.
Yep.
okay, yeah, that's.
Should that be a motion or just?
No,
that's all
I
just
don't.
what happened?
We'll just do it.
How about if well, I'm not doing it.
Well, you're invited, if you're just an NCAO.
Yes.
Feel free.
So,
Well, I guess,
motion to have Lauren schedule,
With the new council and administration.
to schedule a tour of the water treatment plant
And the pumping station.
and the pumping station.
like the transfer station
Transportation.
and the pump house down at the Red Deer River for the stabilization.
This is where I'm getting so confused here, give me a second. The water treatment station,
That's the Shirley McLeod.
yeah, the Shirley McLeod.
No,
No,
the
that's-
treatment is the
The
town.
treatment is the town.
Transfer station.
And then when the water
The
gets,
transfer station is what?
is Shirley's McClellan's,
Okay, so the first one's a two-part thing.
yeah.
Church McCullough's transfer station, what's the other name of it?
And then,
And Pump House? No,
No.
what's Shirley McCullough your goes to two?
The treatment plant.
And
yeah, there's two different
Well, the
things
treatment
here.
plant is towns.
Yeah.
The transfer station is Shirley McClellan's.
Yes, we wanna see both.
Okay.
So Lauren is going to schedule with the town of Stettler to be able to do a tour of the water treatment plant.
And with Shirley,
And then
And Shirley McCullough transfer
schedule,
station.
Shirley McClellan transfer station.
The Red Deer River, is it Red Deer
Pump out.
River?
with the province.
Shirley McClellan doesn't look after the transfer station.
Who does?
That is through County of Stettler. So
Yeah,
we're
but
talking the
it's
garbage.
the
It
Shir-
really shows.
No, this is the water transfer. There's another station that's,
This is.
Water transfer.
so it's got pumps in it, so it does the line, it does to Stetler. It does the line to Concert,
Distribution.
it does the Big Valley and Denalda and us. It's
Water
just a separate.
distribution, Shirley McCullough, it's acronym, water distribution transfer station.
Sure.
Yeah,
Let's call that. And then the
Because
town of Stettler treatment plant, right?
Right,
And then Red Deer River pump house with Hobbits.
Yeah.
Yes, but you can get rid of
And
transfer.
potentially the
'cause it's-
gate system too.
and
Yeah.
gates.
I think the gate system would be
That's-
interesting.
Yeah, and Dennis will do that at the same time.
Gate system.
Gate system.
With province, which is Dennis.
Probably you're calling it the lake stabilization gates and pumps.
Yeah,
Sure, but it's two separate locations.
Yeah, but it's still lake stabilization.
Yep. Okay,
And get rid of transfer,
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
Shirley
And
McCollum,
just Water distribution station.
yeah.
Okay.
That's why I was getting more confused.
what else you got?
Or, sorry.
You wanna go next, Paul, or is that me?
Council.
I can go next.
Okay,
Okay, so my update is pretty brief. County of Stettler Housing Authority, Betty Schritter, the longtime CAO, is retiring September 2025 and using up accrued vacation until then. So she is gone from regular duties as of this point. The current CFO, Chris Lachowski, has taken over now as interim CAO. And in the meantime, they have a posting active for the new one, which they are actively recruiting for. Stettler Ambulance Association. Main thing just to report there is the auditor, Jolene from Gitzland Company, presented a clean audit report. The financial statements were all approved for last year. I given the update last month, just before the last meeting, just of the collision with the one of the ambulances hit a moose between Stettler and Drumheller. So it's the same update as last week. I just carried that forward because it did happen within the month of June. But they're able to still provide their full service, and they're working on insurance claim for looks like probably a total write-off of the ambulance truck anyways, and I think they're just looking at whether they can transfer the ambulance box essentially over to a new chassis. I think otherwise it's just the updates on a few of the other meetings, and that's all I've got for my update. Short and sweet today.
thank you, Paul.
okay, mine's fairly short and sweet too. Waste Management Commission. Renee retired and then they brought him back. So he is back under contract, and part of his role has been reduced in hours. So it's not going to impact cost. It's going to be actually a little more cost effective. And he's also training his replacement handoff more. That's more his goal. Like before he had second and third and all that in command, but now that we know we've got a limited time, he's going to spend more time making sure that either somebody internally can take over or the process to bring somebody in to replace
They
him.
don't have a replacement.
No. They have been experiencing more aggression at the transfer sites.
Oh.
And they've asked they were looking into some training. I run 7 transfer sites as well, my company, and we are bringing in a specialist, and then we've invited their CAO and I think Renee and somebody else to attend our session, and then they're gonna, if they like it, then they'll bring that same guy over to do theirs. And it's mostly about dealing with aggressive customers.
At Altus or at the Stellar or at Lent?
At the transfer sites.
Yes.
This seems to be where most of it is occurring.
Okay.
So they're going to do that. I also, the town hall we had in the interim, financial audit, police assessment, good turnout, good discussion, I thought it was quite positive, good questions. So that was good. Canada Day was a success. And what else did I think? Yeah, it was well attended and a lot of people. And I think I saw Paul was busy for like an hour and a half just slugging.
Flipping beef.
Yeah, schlipping beef, and he was busy. We didn't even see each other, and we walked by he was head down, dipping into it. So it was busy. I think they served well over 350 or something.
Yeah, we had 350 bags of taco chips, and we used them all up, and then we're rating whatever else we could find there with potato chips and all that. So it was more than 350 meals served. So
Yeah.
that was impressive.
And the music was good, and yeah, it was a great day for it.
The kids had a ball.
Kids had a ball.
Mm.
And then the only other thing is golf day is this Saturday. So they're gonna do that. And I didn't have anything else.
So it sounds like it was very well turned out.
Actually, the karaoke guy stayed an extra hour because he was really happy with it.
It was better than I expected.
That's awesome. Yeah.
The training or course that you're gonna do that they're thinking about?
I'm doing it for my employees,
Okay.
and they've asked to attend,
Oh,
to send a delegation from the Waste Commission. And then if they liked it, then they would then bring that model, that guy,
Yeah,
and he's designing a course for me.
okay.
because you're the contractor for Rocky View.
And a city of Airdrie, yes.
Yes,
So that's right, yeah.
opportunity for that work you're doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, when they were describing it, it was exactly the same thing my staff have been describing.
That happens
Sense of entitlement
everywhere,
and,
yeah.
and social media, anyway,
Oh,
so it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why it's hard to retain your staff from sometimes
Yeah.
they're so. Yeah. It's interesting.
You wanna accept those, or we're gonna do Melissa's first?
Accept those first, please, so report
Okay.
them into 8.1 to 8.3. As presented.
All moved. Yeah, all in favor?
Now.
Okay, so the first item is the CAO action list. As requested, we pulled it together. That's in here now, so I'm not going to do too much on that reporting. And then my
I had
report,
one question on that.
sure,
On 2568,
2568, yes.
moved. And what was that one for? What it was?
That was the dock.
That's the boat launch.
Sorry, that was terrible one that we could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We,
Sorry, that's a boat launch, and yes, that's in my report, and actually, I may have something by the end of this week, beginning of next week,
Okay,
so. Yeah, but no, I did have conversations, so that one's all dealt with there. Any other questions on that report? Okay, so I'll move into the next report. Okay, so I'll try to make short and sweet. Council and governments, you can see we had 3 different meetings. We did the regular, the special, and we had the annual information meeting. I thought it was very well attended and very informational. So I thought that was a really good turnout. I don't know about anybody else, but yeah. Administrative updates, so we've got the exploring agreement signed, we've approved the conduit construction plans for Township Road 40-4, those have already been done. We've got the road closure bylaw has been forwarded to Bamako for finalization of the survey plan and land titles registration, and then I will, after that's completed, schedule a meeting with the county to formalize the draft lease agreement, so that I can bring it back to council for approval. I did the contacted municipal engineers over the review of the boat launch, so they're gonna have something that'll give you a kind of rough idea of where we should be looking, what to kind of start, and what could be cost implications. So that'll come. In relation to that, that's where I received a phone call today from Camrose County CEO, chief elected official there, Teresa Grich. Other than our boat launch, they're having issues over there because their boat launch with the low lake levels, people are not wanting to use the boat launch that they do have open, but it is in a lower water level, like the rest of us at Roshan and in our issue, where we've only got so much boat launch, then the water is really low. They are launching boats right off of the beach area and damaging along the front there. So everybody's complaining about the boat launches. The complaint she's receiving is that,
So that's at Pelican Point. too.
yes. So there's miscommunication going all around Lake. Because theirs is open, you can use it, but if you've got large boating vessels, it is in a shallow due to low water levels. It's gonna be having to maneuver, like at Roshan Sands. You're gonna have to maneuver carefully. Certain size boats are getting harder and harder with the low water levels to
And
launch.
Channel that goes out to the. beach
Correct.
partially.
or lack thereof.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Alberta Environment is meeting with the chief elected official out there that way because they're gonna review, because there could be fines and repair costs of the damages to the beach. That goes on ratepayers for a few. And the municipality has to carry that.
So there could be, like, so they can be charged, like Camrose County can be charged for these damages.
Yes, that's what she's been informed. So they're having a meeting with Alberta Environment, but they have, people are doing just whatever they want because they're saying the opposite. She's contacting me, she's contacting Stettler, she's contacting because they wanted to know. I said, our boat launch is open, it's use at your own risk.
And, I could never understand this, but it's been going on for years. The campsite at Boss Hill, they just run right off the beach.
They don't have one.
And if a truck gets stuck in there with the boat, then another truck goes in there with a chain and pulls them out. Like, it's mind-boggling.
Well, this is up at Pelican Point, they won't even use, the marina's closed up there
Yeah,
because it's too low. But their boat launch is open. But they're,
But it's unusable.
well, it's usable. depending-
Anything other than jet skis, it's unusable.
it's kind of like ours.
Ours, yeah, ours is open and usable, but it's
For certain.
for certain things.
Certain size, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same. Unfortunately, so don't have all the answers.
Okay.
But that's the issues they're running into. She's gonna keep me informed. So I thought that would be good information for all you guys, but yeah, there seems to be a lack of unclear communication out there where everybody thinks so-and-so's open, there's no issues, but we're all having issues. It's just in a different way.
Yep, well, people are getting lake people are getting desperate to be on the lake, so.
Yes.
Just go to AC.
Yeah. So June 16th, I had a ratepayer inquiry about the taxes, so I explained it all. And it's all good. It's that 60-40 roughly, only 60% of it kind of we get to keep and the 40% goes elsewhere. Posted public education material regarding beach maintenance and care to the municipal Facebook page. So trying to keep our education materials updated as much as we can. It takes a lot of time and work, but we're working on it. June 19th, did the video conference with Rocky View, so I've given you that explanation on the Fire Smart programs. I emailed Mr. Jeffrey Way of Canada Post for an update, and I received an update yesterday. So they're in the process of adding White Sands to the official municipality list. And then he'll notify me when address setup is complete and delivery services can proceed. So
It's going.
Yeah.
my deadline is the end of this year. I will have it in play. That's my plan, but I'll keep you informed. Sent encroachment letters to the affected property owners as we were as directed by council. And I'm working collaboratively with those owners to clear the right of way access. So everything's working through. completion is targeted for September in order to initiate brush cutting within the approved 2025 budget. So far, we had a good conversation.
Good conversation, no,
Yeah, positive.
Positive.
Did you get the other one talk to you, or just the one?
No, talk to both of
Oh,
them.
did you? Wait,
Yeah.
another one.
So it's all, we're okay with it. They kind of,
Knew that that's the case.
so I wanted to make sure I gave enough time. I don't want to force anything, so I want to make sure we have time for them to adjust through the season. Drafted the beach maintenance policy, which you guys have seen, community road grading completed in advance of the dust control, and then it was applied on the 24th. So we did that. That's all covered under the grants. We'll do that reporting for that. The end of the year.
it seems to work better than the MJ30. But it's also twice the price, probably. But if it's, and people are asking me, and I said, well, it's gonna be a rotational thing. That's what plan is kind of.
We'll work on a policy plan.
Yeah.
But
Right
it-
now,
it
it was
really-
getting something.
It holds up better in the rain so far, like it's done a mess. And then when I said it's polymer, that's more environmentally friendly than the other stuff, so.
This was I went hunting. It's not easy, because now even our grader operators said, who did you get? Because it's hard to find these guys.
Yeah.
But I wanted environmentally friendly, and I wanted something different than calcium.
Seemed to work.
Yeah, so we will review.
See how it holds up over the, so we try to get at least a couple of years out of each application. So we'll see how it holds up.
I just have to admit that I like the way it's solidified better
Yeah,
than calcium.
and it's, you know, with the calcium and MJ30 or whatever it was, MJ. When it rained, it got soft, and then when you're walking on it, your boots just got a hell of a
Coming up.
Yes, MG30 though, that stuff was actually a calcium polymer. So it still was a calcium product, just a little bit different of a calcium product. This one, I wanted to be completely away from that.
No, it seems so far that it's very, very good.
So anyway, trial and error, we did 1.2, it's covered under the grants. Ordered all the fire access gate signs, and they're installed as of July 2nd. So that was one of the things brought up at the annual information meeting. Nobody seems to know where they were. So participated in a joint meeting with Catalyst, with Roshan Sands and ourselves to explore software upgrades and a GIS Anywhere solutions. So we're looking at cost sharing and grant collaborations. So we're looking to see what we can do for our 2026 budget. Received correspondence regarding tree related incidents. So we're getting quite a bit of things that we're going to have to address. So 14th 4th Street, we had a concerned down tree and a power outage compensation request that's been forwarded to the municipal insurance. And they're looking at it and they're responding to it. 42nd Front Street, we had a dead tree that nearly impacted a shed. That's in your council package here. So that's something that you're gonna have to look at. And then I did a walkthrough. It showed unclear property boundaries, so it's very difficult to figure this out. Insurance recommends council provide direction. A formal municipal and environmental reserve lands policy should be adopted to address such matters with flexibility for future revisions. So I'm kind of working on a draft, and I kind of would like a clear resolution for council if you want me to proceed with moving that.
So we're asking, what do we do with dead tree problem if it's on municipal reserve, falls into somebody's private? What is the rules? Well, it's our.
We don't have a formal policy. We do kind of, this is where there's
So
a
what does
lot of,
insurance say?
well, a lot of it is acts of nature, I'm gonna call it. Like,
They said acts are gone.
because we're so limited in staffing and we don't have any clear plans and we don't have any clear budgets that we allocate. Cause when we did take last year, we allocated money to do some vegetation management. We did the full front entrance coming in, got it all cleaned up. That cost $10,000.
That was the mulching program?
Yes.
Okay, so we do mulch the MR. What happens when somebody, if I report a tree that's, looks like it's dead, what happens?
So the one thing right now is we've done 3 so far, I think 2 or 3. So a property owner gets a hold of us, they say, there's some trees in the MR that are dead or
Potential danger.
potential, and so we come out, we inspect, and we look, okay, are they dead? Yes. And then he goes, can I have permission? I'm going to be getting somebody. So we do it, and we authorize it through, we'll mark the trees, we've inspected it, and yes, you can cut those trees down.
We give them permission to
Yes.
go onto the MR and cut a tree down.
Yes.
Okay.
And please be careful, you're doing this at your
So
own
we don't
risk.
volunteer to do it.
No, we don't have the staffing, we don't have now, Alan has to take his.
So what happens if they say, I can't do it either, I'm 75-year-old little old lady?
So then
It's on the MR, it's not my problem.
this is where you're gonna have to look at, what do you wanna do, cause your MRER is to maintain it in a natural environment, right? It's a protection mechanism depending on where it is.
So
There's-
what if a tree poses a hazard to either private structures or that it could fall and, across an
beach
access point
access.
and damage somebody? Like, do we have any provision to fix it if it's clearly a hazard versus, somebody wanted to clear a tree for their own enjoyment of their property or something like that?
That's where we're saying we need to do something, because let me just find it here.
Because I
That was a
imagine somebody.
conversation that I had with the insurance company. Is there are certain things in the regulations we're okay with? Because it's pretty clear. So, and then I've got legal taking a look at what is being reported here. So, Summer Village reviews their liability exposure with their legal representative. So, as you know, it's important to remember that we have a duty of care, which I know that, but there's a distinction in the MGA for municipal reserve land and environmental reserve land. The distinction between the two is very important here. So 6711 of the MGA, environmental reserve must be left in its natural state or be used as a public park. 2, municipal reserve can be jointly for any or all of the following purposes: public park, public recreation area, schools, or separate areas of land that are used for different purposes. So the designation of MRER is important, and as designated these spaces would be important. If you say a particular area is a public park, then I believe it would be reasonable that Summer Village would expect that people would frequent those areas and thus a higher duty of care would be owed. If an ER where your intent is to leave it as natural state, believe it's incumbent to leave that land as close to the natural state as possible, like you do along the beach shore. That said, the Summer Village still has a duty of care. If there are trees that may impact other properties, we should do something to mitigate that risk. There's costs involved to mitigate those risks that you need to budget for. So that's why without a policy, we don't even lay out a guideline of where we're going to go, and with the limited amount of staff. And then of course, okay, so I get our staff member trained up with the chainsaw. So if the tree is down, that's a simple process. You can chainsaw it up. But when you start taking taller trees, that he's gotta deal with, now we've got health and safety, because you should have a spotter, you need this, you need that,
If
right?
we're taking down a tall tree, that might be a contractor. It wouldn't be
Exactly.
our own stuff.
So then there's costs involved,
Yeah.
so now, and we're gonna have to figure out, because 10,000 just to do what we did in the front, what's it gonna cost to do, but we have to deal with this. We
Well, I
need a
don't think
policy.
we're doing the whole, every dead tree in the MR. We're just looking at which ones potentially could pose a falling risk that would damage people or property,
Yeah,
correct?
and then of course, some of them, they may be looking like, was because we've had such a dry season. And some are dead, physically you can tell they're dead.
Yeah.
Some may be dead, but still pretty solid, but in a huge windstorm, that becomes totally different, right? So we're running into a lot of these issues of how do we need to find a policy that you guys feel comfortable with, that we could at least establish better parameters so that we can start budgeting and figuring out how to deal with this.
I think probably also that there's different areas, of course, of different kind of growth of trees. Down below Front Street, there's some trees down there that are,
They're huge.
but if they're gonna cause.
One less than there was a month ago, I'll tell you.
Yeah, but I have seen that some of them, like, they're huge and I've been seeing one part of the tree looks like it's dead and the other part's got leaves. Like, what do you do? Everybody else looks at it and says that's dead.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But it's so upright, right?
if it falls on someone's house or someone, when it, I don't know, I always get worried about damage and hurting people too, you know?
Right.
You just don't know.
But
So
there are
we have a
things that are-
responsibility, and it says it right just by.
Do care, yeah.
Right, but then storms and acts of nature are out of our control.
If the
So-
tree is alive, but if the tree is dead and reported,
Well, I think
It
it's
was
tricky
not
because if somebody has brought it to our attention and we don't take action and then it comes down,
That's the point, and I think that's where the policy has to be clear, because we got 4 kilometers. One staff member cannot be monitoring that 4 kilometers. It's impossible, and all the MR on top of it.
well, the 3 point whatever kilometers, or 2 miles, whatever the hell it is, there's just short areas that are bad. Like we did, remember down on Lakeview Court there.
Yeah,
So you hired Walker's Tree Service to come in there, cut all them down, and then volunteers and one maintenance worker got rid of it all. And it was a huge, huge job. But Walker's didn't do all that cleanup, they just knocked it down. So maybe something like that could be looked at, like in front of Paul's.
And
place
I
on Front
think
Street.
that's why if we get a policy, and you're right, because the other issue that we've found out is, because we have been, some people are working great with us, they contact us, we give them permission, they take care of it, they can keep the wood for firewood, we're okay with that. And that's that policy, I wanna get that balance. And then the other thing is, that way, if we're going to do the maintenance and we've got the budget for it, then we can go, and if we mark trees, we bloody well get rid of them.
Yeah, and we have.
No, that's,
But we still have trees all around that have marks on them and we haven't dealt with yet, so we're setting ourselves up for more liability.
but I think like the idea of having someone report to, but it should, if you're gonna do that, then it should be, like, some stuff has to be looked at sensibly and not just, well, that's gonna come down, but you have to have some knowledge in there as well. But if it's dead and it's gonna hit their house and it's on MR, you gotta look after it.
I agree, because I've had gone out on some where they've asked and we went out and inspected, and I went with Ellen, both him and I. And if a tree grew this way, it doesn't mean it's dead. It could be a risk. I can't guarantee acts of nature. But the tree was still healthy, so we only marked the ones that were dead.
I think it's something that has to be certainly looked after, because you could be really in trouble while
I agree.
nobody was, like,
I-
it could just be
yeah.
a
We
nightmare.
gotta come up with, again, maybe we need to look at what do other communities do? I mean, we have a lot more green space than a lot of them, but.
We also got them big trees like that in certain areas.
Yeah.
Those big
Like in
poplars,
front of Mike's,
there's some massive ones in there.
but we took the other ones away. The ones that would fall now aren't gonna do any
No.
damage.
And if they're fallen and they didn't do any damage, leave them the hell alone. We're more looking at the ones that have potential to do property and people damage.
And that's where I'm trying to get that, so I have drafted a policy based on some of the information here. I've also had a discussion with legal and said, can you provide some details on some of those risks too? So if you're okay, a resolution for me to finish this would be great. And then you can have a review and just, that's the start of the process.
Sounds good.
Well, I think we need to look at a policy for deadfall, I think they call it.
Yeah,
Trees that could,
how about deadfall?
well, deadfall can mean it's already on the ground. We want to, I don't think we want to touch a tree that's already on the ground in the MR.
That's
We
right.
want to touch
Standing.
dead standing trees that
Or on-
that could provide or could be a danger to people or property.
Okay, so that's to put into a municipal and environmental reserve.
The create, I don't know, the administration created a standing tree removal policy that.
In regards to municipal and environmental reserve, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's our land.
Now
The
here,
word dead trees should be in there.
Yeah,
here's a question just for consideration as we build that policy. So somebody has their equipment stored on MR, their dock and lift equipment. What is our feeling towards protecting that equipment that isn't on private property? Do we have a duty to do that?
why would you?
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Because it's damage of people or property.
But
So,
if it's on their property.
yeah, so if a tree comes
Is it
down,
authorized? Is it
if a
not
tree comes down
authorized?
on somebody's lift that they've stored on MR and crushes it, are we liable?
Is that authorized use? Have you authorized them
We
to do
just
that?
have, we've just said, we have a shoreline policy that says they can
You could
store
say
it there.
author.
Well, no, that was the thing that said you should have a policy and you should restrict
Yeah.
that.
I don't know what the answer is
We
on
don't
that. That'll
have
be a kettle that we'll have to address.
Yeah,
I think the official word would be you store, equipment on MR is at your own risk and we take no liability. But anyways, it'll be an interesting one. And like when I think of my place, I have some of my equipment, like at my sailboat in the summer, I don't have fully on my own private property. It's on MR. So if a tree comes down on it, can I come to Melissa and say you're liable for damage to my sailboat?
well, that's where I'm thinking your boat should be on your private property.
Yeah,
But
that's probably
there's
the
the
right
thing.
answer.
this is where
So
we're gonna go.
anything stored on MR, legal or authorized or not, it is on your own risk.
And no, that's why we need to get the.
Well, then it
the
should be in
policy.
policy.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
then if it goes to court, it's
Yeah.
there.
And that's why let's get a draft policy
So like
here.
standing tree, right?
Stand, dead stand tree, yeah, it has to be dead. We're not-
Yeah. Tree
There's
removal
gotta be
policy
some kind of
regards to
management.
Municipal environmental reserves and bring back to the next regular council meeting. Is that what I'm getting at?
Yes.
Yeah, and I guess further to that, so if a wind tunnel comes through and hits some of the live trees, wow,
That's
That's an act of God.
that's not our
acts
business.
of nature.
We're calling it activation.
Yeah.
You can't say God.
I keep saying it myself, but I finally go, I better get a little better. Acts of nature. There are certain things that we're gonna have to look at because there were certain things that we have run into which I've talked about, the insurance one that I'm reviewing. That again, that was a act of nature, that was a different type of windstorm. Again, we're dealing with some of this stuff, but it's coming to a head here, that we need to have a plan.
You bet. You hit a house with a tree, there's a couple $100,000.
I guess we gotta look at it the same way we look at fire, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna
Yes.
have to find
Yeah.
that balance, so. So did you get it right?
Yeah, and I need someone to put their name on it.
You're worse than me,
Sorry.
your report.
I'd like to narrow that
Right.
down.
Sure, I'll move that.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Okay,
Okay, we've completed the MGA detailed audit report for municipal assessment notices, so that's been completed. Let's see, we get lots of policy stuff we gotta work on. Human resources, we've received an updated medical documentation extending a maintenance team member's leave to November 6th, 2025. Administration has hired Alan Berger on a temporary probational basis and will transition him to a full-time permanent position with benefits effective July 14th.
And we do not have to hold that position open?
As per the Alberta Employment Standards Code, employees are entitled to up to 16 weeks of projected illness injury leave per year. The municipality must accommodate medical conditions to the point of undue hardship in line with Alberta human rights legislation.
So he's gone past that.
We're working through it.
work in progress.
But that's basically what we're, yeah, okay? Cause you can't appoint somebody into a permanent without that job no longer being held.
Effective July 14th, we can move him because we can't make somebody extended probationary period
Right.
if they have done
No,
Right.
fair enough. Okay, I just wanna make sure.
following legislative requirements.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with that, so, yep.
Okay, election and governance, your turn.
Right, that's me. As we know, nomination day was completed and finalized as of Monday, but you had nomination day on the 5th. Candidates had 24 hours to repeal. I didn't have any repeals. The current the official list that I posted on the 5th is still standing. So is Dan and Paul, Leon Thorogood, Donna Markart, and Barry Gannett are the 5 candidates running in this municipal election. I have finalized the MA Connect, those candidates, and then have announced that we're going to elections. I've done that already as of Monday, that there, 3 positions, you get to choose 3 off the ballot. And
Ballots are
also,
ordered.
ballots are ordered. I've talked to one summer student for sure to work one of the days. I have another girl that is coming back that did the by-election. She's gonna help out for the 2 days for the advance and the election day. So advance, as you know, voting is July 26th from
10 a.m.
10 a.m. to 1 o'clock here at the municipal office. Then election day is August 2nd, 10 until 7 here at the municipal office as well. Anything else? I had one person ask about special ballots and I respectfully declined it because as per your guys' motions, you decided not to do special ballot, but did advance voting instead. So it's just, I said that to them and they said, okay. Nothing else. And then I have announced to the candidates that we're going to election. These are the dates and some helpful links if they want to go look at them for about can't be a counselor and whatnot.
And any other further information on other things involving election, we'll keep posting on the Facebook page as they
And the
become
website.
available.
Yes, website
How's
too.
that?
I posted on my window here, I posted on the board there as per your public notification bylaw that we passed a couple months ago. So I kind of did more than just the 2.
Yes, and thank you for moving that bylaw forward because
Saves advertising.
Summer Village of Goshen Sands is going to an election also
Yes, they have 5
this
candidates.
year.
Ooh.
They have 5 candidates
Wow.
running.
Yeah.
For 2 positions or 3?
Three.
We have 3 as well.
And
Right.
they do not have the past public notification bylaws, so they have to advertise in the local newspaper they can find.
And that's like $600 some going for each.
Yes,
Wait for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, for those last two bylaws, I did public hearing for cost to the municipality, $1,300 before we had those. Like the road closure,
yeah.
the public notice, we had it advertised, so.
So there's huge cost savings in moving ourselves.
And
So-
it was
That's
all
great.
sent to their the taxes
Yeah.
too, along with that survey, we did it, on that survey sheet on the backside too, was about the election nomination day, these are the potential dates, if we go to election, so everyone got it in the mail as well. You received it.
They have just confirmed this morning that
You're supposed to
the
keep it under your hat.
candidates for, sorry?
You're supposed to keep the date under your hat.
No, he said he's confirmed.
It says confirming July 24th,
Okay.
7 PM at the hall for the candidates forum. More details to come.
There you go.
And it's similar format to last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or last.
I'm
year.
not allowed to post anything yet until Tamara tells me to.
Okay.
So if it's in your email, counselor confirmed.
Yes, but things will be, they're working on bylaws and stuff
Yeah.
and candidates.
So then the only point I have left is, as you know, the government of Alberta recently updated the Municipal Government Act to include new requirements under section 201.1 for elected official orientation and training. So part one of the training, we have to have that in place or before the first organizational meeting of the new council. So this session, I'm working on trying to figure out, once the elections are over, that we're going to schedule the training and the org right away. I am going to do the training myself. Is that okay?
Did the Summer Village have the package?
We do.
That organization, I mean, that said they were gonna do this?
They've created that training package for
Perfect.
us.
Yeah.
And I'm going to present it. I'm talking with Roshan and we might see if we can't do a collaborative jointly,
Absolutely.
both of us, but then he's talking, going right into an organizational at the same time, so it might not work that way.
We could leave with that. Can you-
Yeah, so working on options here. Part 2 is already booked for the members for September 13th through online training. And that's provided by the EOEP.
It's 9 to 4.
Yeah, 9 to 4.
Once we get election results, I will add you guys to our calendar.
And then
Yeah.
foreign people.
But I got it, I registered them
I
all
want
under
to
me.
know that.
And then I gotta do my response back because I get free.
Yeah, she is so free.
It's online.
Yes.
Yes. And this was all worked through with ASBA. We worked together and brought this to their attention.
I just had an election question I forgot about.
Yeah.
So in the past, some elections, there was just one person marked on the ballot.
Just 3.
They have to
You
do
do three.
3.
Is it?
Pick 3 of 5.
Same with the by-election last year, you pick 2, so you pick 3. Well, you can pick 1, if someone picks 1, they pick 1.
That's their
But
call.
you can
Yeah.
put 3.
No,
They-
that's what I'm asking
Yeah.
because,
Pick up to 3. If there's 4, then sorry, the ballot gets.
There's
no, so all I'm saying is they just voted for one person,
That's fine.
it's still valid.
Yeah.
It's still valid, yes.
Up to
Okay.
3.
Up to 3.
Okay.
Yeah, make sure it's clear X.
Did you also book seats into that conference?
ASBA
As
conference,
a
yeah.
conference, yes,
with
that's already
Andrew.
booked too.
Sorry?
Yes,
You
the
did.
consist of mine, so CEO and 3 councilors and Bruce are booked.
Okay, that's,
We prepared.
Lisa had a hard month last month.
no, that's good, because that was a very valuable thing.
Yeah,
As for the hotels, our been paid it just all over right now, well.
I think we
paid for
did.
And that's in Edmonton?
Sure, perfect.
Sherwood Park
Okay.
this
I
time.
will double check.
Yeah,
No.
Oral and the stuff.
we gotta build all this stuff now.
Yep.
That we're going into elections, so.
Yes. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to.
So-
No, everything's pre-booked, so.
That- Nomination day and everything like that.
So capital projects, municipal office renovation is completed under the MSI grant. Final inspection is today. Yay, our building permit will be closed, we're done. Permits and licensing, development permits issued 8 so far. We've issued RV permits, we've issued 42, 7 of them are temporary permits.
Down from last year.
That's,
Yeah, we're finding it lower than
are you
last year.
still getting them inspected?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going through it. There's not a lot.
It's
I
slowed
mean-
down this year.
Slow down.
How much was with that
I have
guy.
4 or 5 that are pending to actually get the permit. I've been paid, but they need to do the application too,
Yes.
to get the permit paper.
So
But there's like 4 there.
was it in the 70s last year?
Yeah, 90, I thought. I had to go back.
Oh,
What's on the
You gotta look at our temporary permits.
The temporary
We
permits
had
were high last year
tons
too.
last year. We don't charge anything for the temporary.
So that's the 4 trailers for 5 days?
Yeah.
Yes.
the 4 trailers.
So that could be something to be reviewed by the next council. That's something that could be discussed during strat planning and stuff. But this year, at this point, only 42.
So is that just mean that there's less of them, or does
Yeah,
that mean that?
There's actually been less, like this,
I think last year we even had more at that time.
yeah, we had more that time, right now, yeah. Last year I go to my archive permit last year.
I'll let you review that. Golf carts, you've done 41.
90. That 2 RV, that's permit, that's temporary, and that's the 1 RV one. But last year temporary, we had a lot, and a big list.
Yeah,
Like
So-
a huge amount.
so last year 90, and that included the temporary, and I think the quarter of that was temporary.
Yeah.
So it is down from last year. And then general maintenance continues throughout the community, it's ongoing. There's more I could have told you about probably, but I'm kind of tired.
Okay,
You accept the 3 reports as presented?
yes, all in favor?
Oh, I feel like I did the worst today.
Well, it's all important stuff, and the thing is, with the streaming of the meeting, you're not just sitting on your cushion here, right?
Oh, God, no. As you can see, there's a lot that goes on within a month that we're dealing with.
Okay, financials. You wanna take us through?
Gotta look at where we're at with our total expenses compared to the budget, and we're at a nice balance, 50%, and we're partway through the year. I'm trying to hold it. Yeah, I don't know if there's any real questions anybody has. Do they see anything that looks like our requisitions? We've put out about 61% of it already.
Your second quarter of the Alberta School Foundation went out within the June.
Yeah.
77,000, almost 78,000.
It's a lot.
Well, there is communities that are in real trouble because of that.
Yeah.
It's just-
Yeah, we keep looking at ourselves thinking we're really lucky because the way our taxes have gone out and we're collecting and the balance is just doing well.
So we got capital.
And the capital, so yeah, there's where we're at. And yeah, any other questions, anybody?
No, I'm still spending a little.
You will until you're done. Officially.
Yeah, well, I'm letting the annual thing for the truck.
Oh, yeah,
I think I got it figured.
And then you had printed, you said you're gonna make a
Yeah,
frame.
frame,
yeah, that frame.
yeah, I'm gonna be able to work on that.
So let's move the 10.1 to 10.2 dash first.
I'm
Yeah.
all in favor, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then in correspondence, we got a letter, and that's around the damages on the fire.
Yeah, this one I need a resolution, yeah. I pull out the policy or the bylaw. And the policies, but
So just as a little bit of background on this, as I understand it, so we went in and hauled away some of the fire damage materials there, and the landowner essentially said, well, we never gave them a chance to do it themselves. Is that kind of the gist of it?
I was very much personally involved in this, so I will. So the fire department guys asked if we could remove that material from next to the house because they couldn't put it out where it was. So they asked if they could move it to the road, where they could soak it down and it wouldn't continue to smoke and smolder, because they'd leave it alone for a while, go back, it was back on fire. And so that was the side of the house that damaged, it melted and damaged some of the siding.
Okay.
So a private resident had a skid steer there. We pulled it out, put it on the road / ditch. There was about, I'm gonna say 4 to 6 rolls of this that were still smoldering. The fire department then doused it and put chemicals on it to douse it, and then when they were done, they kind of left it.
Right.
And then part of it was left on the road, so there was now a hazard. And one of the residents came and put a pylon out, and I did not think that was sufficient, so I jumped on his skid steer and pushed it into the ditch, just off the road. It's still on our ditch, so still on MR. And then instructed or talked to Melissa about getting it removed. Again, because it wasn't on the road a hazard, but it was still a hazard, potential hazard in the future. So Monday morning, the staff came, hauled it, picked it up, hauled it away, and took it to the dump.
Okay.
And so it was his private property, but it was necessary to protect his dwelling.
Right.
And because we follow the fire bylaw, and the fire bylaw states that anything is, regards to a fire, is charged back to the property owner. We have in our fees and service bylaw, we have a rate.
Public Works staff has performed for repairs $90 per hour, minimum 2 hours, and that they only did 4 hours. So they were charged $90 for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Hour for 4 hours.
For him to load, haul,
Get rid of it.
get rid of it, and it wasn't easy for him. So it became a little more, I've learned a lesson, because he had marks all over his arms. It's not a good thing for one staff member to have to do, especially when you gotta go and get it unloaded at the landfill site. You don't have the equipment.
It was heavy.
Yes. So because we don't actually have any other policies other than following what that bylaw stated and what's in our fees and service, it's out of my hands. I can waive penalties,
Which they
depending,
just incurred.
except for
So
taxes.
they just incurred now because of and then
Yeah,
I wrote understatement. This is going to council.
Yeah.
It-
Because it's
just
AR.
Yesterday.
penalties are more in my realm than council's, but when it comes to taxes and things like that, that's council's. I can't do it. So we're putting it to you guys because I don't know what to do or say, or do you want me to get a better creative policy after this, depending on what your decision is?
I think the policy is the policy.
And the activity was reasonable and justified, and it needed to be
I
done.
just want to note too that we have not received our invoice from that fire,
From
those
fire
properties
department.
yet.
Yeah,
I've had someone inquire because their insurance is inquiring too, but it's still got it yet, so.
I'm
but I guess because they were coming out, should we not have maybe did the process first, call them first?
no, it was clearly directed by the fire department.
Okay,
It was put onto MR or the road because that was the safest place to put it. And then it needed to be removed from the roadway. And that is all under our purview, and it was that material that was the problem. So I'm saying this is totally legit, and the bill is the bill. And I think it's very reasonable.
okay,
I'll support that. I mean, I get that they may have wanted the opportunity to, say to have moved it themselves and to avoided the cost. But if it was presenting a hazard and needed to be dealt with, you know, just the way it is. And, you know, thankfully their cabin was saved with only minor damage out of it.
But
Okay.
how you want this worded?
Yeah, I'm okay with whatever decisions, you just.
It's just the motion is that it is, I don't know, it is what it is. I don't, we're not
How about motion to deny the request,
Yeah. for a reduction.
for a reduction in the invoice number? Based on the,
That it needed to be dealt with.
that it needed to be dealt with at that time,
To be
Based on the fire bylaw.
based on the fire bylaw, yeah,
Well,
sure.
based on, you know, safety, really, if it was presenting
Yeah.
a safety hazard where it was, we couldn't leave it there.
Yeah,
And I'm pleased that it was as low of a rate on that particular activity as it was. I mean, there is a potential for, you know, from the fire department, but that's separate. And this is our staff dealing with.
but yeah, I figured I'll bring it to you guys.
Yep. No, I think it's totally, it's justified.
That's safety to, the safety that I worded it. It was based on the fire bylaw and
It was justified based on the event that happened.
Yeah.
I think that's all you
Yeah,
gotta do.
required.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, we got a letter, we did talk about this a little bit, actually, about the trees. The tree that fell down there,
Yes,
very lucky it didn't do damage.
yes, but again, this is one, we walked down there. 3 of us have gone down all to try and map out and see. Telling you, we can't confer that it's not within the private property or it's right on the property line, we just don't know.
So what are they asking for at this point?
Well,
I don't know what they're asking. That, you know, good that they pointed this out. It then helps us develop a policy.
yeah,
So I think they're really just sending it to us as informational and for concern. I don't see specifically they're asking us for anything, so we can just respond with, you know, thank you for letting us know. Council has directed that we will develop a policy for standing dead trees, and we're working on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah, so with a response letter,
Just, well, it's a response email, so thank you.
and the council is addressing through a policy.
And it is kind of important, like we may have to, like in the future, you might have to get a pin finder, rent one, or get it maybe surveyed if it's a real
Well,
contentious.
And I think that's these things that you're going to have to look at in your shoreline, because they brought it up in here too. About markers and marking certain things. But I think that's a more expense costs. It's gonna have to be a
It's huge,
discussion.
like if you call a surveyor in here, you're looking at.
Yeah.
Pretty penny.
Well, what did it cost to do when they came through the last time the environment came through? Put all those pins in there, flagging in, and
But it didn't do anything.
they put some flags.
Yeah, but it, what was the point?
Again, I think if we're gonna do something, we need to have a plan so that we're doing it for a consistent reason and how we're gonna maintain it after. But yeah, this was to bring it to you guys' attention. It's addressed to you guys, and yeah, I thought it was it's good we're having this discussion. Without a policy, it's been.
Well,
Private
it'll
administration.
relieve a lot of people on them areas where it is potential. But maybe it's the responsibility of the landowners to find out where their pegs are. I don't know how that works. but,
Well, that's
you know,
been one of my things that I'm thinking about, but again, right now, working with insurance, because it's gonna affect the municipality, because if we continue to get these things that are become insurance claims, your insurance is gonna go up and your costs are gonna go up. So we need to get that policy and figure that out.
Yeah, and Paul, do you know where your pegs are?
I do, yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
I
Well,
do.
they put them in. They put ribbon on mine and a peg
And that's where I found,
along the back. I don't know where the front is.
yeah, we found one pig, but it was by the time we walked over to it, I'm not too sure. So,
Well, I guess that's where I bring up the pin finder. I mean, they're expensive, like $1,000, but maybe that's something you'd want to budget for. Because you could use a measuring tape off of the dimension maps that you have and hold it on that one peg and then go over.
we tried a couple of different things and then to try and walk through some of that growth that I am.
Well,
sure
that's
some of
the-
you guys living down on that area know that it gets pretty thick in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think at this point in time, this is information. I'll respond that we're looking at a policy. If it goes any further, then I will send it to insurance and we'll go from there.
They've also asked, we have previously requested the area to be assessed for clarification of which trees are dead enough for removal. And now again, ask with more determination. And then they further said, we understand council will advise us on which trees can be removed and whose responsibility for paying to have them cut down.
And I will reply
Weird. That what?
that at this point, we're working on a policy. If they wish to remove, we can assess and mark and give them permission. At this point, that's as far as, it's hard to get down there. We walked it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're gonna get equipment down there.
Well, that's the thing, because there was never an access put in that
Right.
subdivision.
So some of these spots can be really, really difficult, and then do we really wanna be taking a tractor on the bed and shore, and there we go again.
Yeah, in the winter maybe.
Why would we need to take a tractor down there? Wouldn't we be just talking about downing a tree in place and safely?
I think when I went and looked at some of the stuff, like, yeah, okay, we're taking out, like, if a tree just falls regularly and that's fine. But when you start looking at some of those trees and the amount of stuff, are we gonna file that everywhere or do we haul it out?
Well, one of Paul's neighbors actually had somebody come in and cut down 15 dead trees
Yeah,
and stacked it up. And they did that with our approval. But,
yeah,
pretty much all the trees were dead, if you want
Yeah.
to call it that, on the lakeside.
Yeah, I would think, and we'll determine in our policy, but I think our policy would be, if there's a tree that's presenting a hazard, we will make it non-hazardous. So we will essentially cut it down, getting a contractor in that can safely do it. And then, maybe cut it up into lengths so that it can be, well, whatever it needs to be done once it's fallen to make it not hazardous anymore, but we wouldn't necessarily go and
Not gonna bucket it.
out.
We're not gonna haul it in a bucket. But then they would say, okay, that tree over there is far enough away, it wouldn't hurt my cabin. But if my kids are playing on the lawn, it could fall on one of my kids.
Well, again, then we may have to take it down, but again, we're gonna knock it down and then
And leave it on the MR.
leave it on the MR in a down position.
It'd be a full tree down. We don't have to buck it up. We don't have to deal
and I
with it.
think that's why we gotta get this policy, so.
And
it's-
again, then we might say to the landowner, if you advise us if you want to buck it up and use the wood, and we'll say, okay, go ahead. That's your own responsibility and your own thing, but it's not causing a hazard now when it's fallen down.
So we remove the hazard.
Right. And then we got to that point and now we're getting into another area of, well, this is where people are saying, well, you're not doing anything because you got all these dead trees laying down in your MR. which is
the other
creating
part.
fire hazards. Do you see, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we have to get this
It's-
really clear.
But even like removal of stuff, yeah, watch your nesting season.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're not doing anything.
So maybe there's,
When
we
there's
gotta
birds
create that
nest.
balance of when are we dealing with this? Are we gonna deal with it prior to spring before it gets really, or just when we have a small window and then we do some in fall? I don't know. I don't have an answer.
But
I
if
don't-
it's imminent danger, it doesn't matter whether there's birds
Yeah,
nests or
that's
not,
different.
get rid of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have any.
Alright, so it's made to have administration respond, explaining that council has directed administration to review and create a policy for dead standing tree removal in relation to municipal and environmental reserve that will be reviewed by council at the next regular council meeting.
You also mentioned that
And to
it can
advise
be-
them that we could give you authorization.
we could we could meet with you, we could assess the situation and clarify which trees are dead enough.
And talk about if you want to remove.
Review trees. Resident, admin will advise to meet with residents to review trees,
Yeah,
vegetable trees.
and allowing responsibility of the property owner to proceed with.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
make that motion. You guys in favor?
Yep.
So I just took 12 down it in front of me.
I am sorry.
Okay, red tape reduction,
Think that is information.
yeah, I can't believe. You know,
If they wasted the piece of paper, sorry.
well, the red tape reduction has made,
Yes.
I'm not talking about.
They take one away and the other.
I know,
Yeah.
I'm just.
So we
yeah.
just have to approve
For
response
information.
11.3 add information.
Yeah, and I had something I forgot here.
Okay,
So there's been a observation of an invasive plant in the village. And it's called, well, the
What is it?
cowboy, toilet paper, but it's mullein common. And it's an invasive plant and one plant will produce up to 300,000 seeds
where is it?
on a property. And we'll give you the information.
Is it cowboy paper or cowboy? What's it?
Cowboy toilet paper,
I'll
Yeah,
have to look this up. I gotta see what this is.
yeah.
it's beautiful,
It's beautiful,
But-
that's invasive species.
but someone maybe planted it without knowing that it was so invasive.
Oh, very well. There's actually a lot of
Yes,
interesting one. But okay, perfect. I'll have to check
Okay.
this out.
let's adjourn unless anybody else has anything to say.
One check.
Well, I'll just say it's been lovely working with you.
I was gonna say, this is your last.
Thank you.
Meeting.
Yeah.
Been a good run. And I'm sorry I raised a little
Hi.
concerns once in a while, but you know, if you